Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our family leisure studios. Landon and Darian with us as well. We're Sports Time. We're with you for the next 3 hours and a ton to get into after the long weekend with Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving weekend. But we're back and a lot to talk about: football, basketball, a little bit of everything. But Brett, how are you this afternoon?
Brett, doing well. Did everybody eat a lot? Eat plenty? Everybody good?
Ate too much. A lot of good food and too much
Seconds?
of it.
Thirds?
Thirds, fourths, fifths. Still eating, Brett. I mean, it's...
Brett, we stopped at seconds, I believe.
Seconds?
No third.
Wow, no thirds.
Yeah, by Saturday, by Saturday, Sunday, I was done.
You were done with it all? Well,
the turkey was just a carcass, huh? Just clean slick.
Yeah, well, huh.
What about desserts? Everybody second, third on desserts?
Of course. How could you not? I mean...
Okay, here's what I found, especially with a group that I would say 15 or more.
Okay.
There's an overabundance of desserts because like really culinary challenge people like me. You know, I can stop by the Kroger and get a pecan pie.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, everyone can bring a dessert.
I mean, everybody can bring. I mean, I can't bring a big old smoked turkey.
No. I mean, it's the easy thing to do. Hey, let me bring a pie or something. And so you'll have probably too much dessert.
And I had a college football first. So, you know, Brian, in Ole Miss games, we have our Grove reporter, Karen Linchesky, just a super fine young person, does a great job with us. And she was in the Grove on Friday and was interviewing people. And the person she was interviewing, and it just sounded great, they do Thanksgiving in the Grove when Ole Miss hosts, when it's Ole Miss Egg Bowl in Oxford. They do Thanksgiving for their family, and everybody comes in. Some of them don't even go to the game. Well, Tommy Tuberville would hate to hear that. He wanted to shut the Grove an hour before kickoff to force everybody into the stadium.
Oh, man.
And look what he got him.
Well,
now he's in the Presidential Order of Secession.
I guess so.
But she was interviewing people, and they were talking about a bourbon pecan pie. And when they threw it back to us, I said, whoever knew that you could come to the Grove, have 2 slices of bourbon pecan pie, and need an Uber to get to the stadium?
Well, yeah.
Just be drunker in hell from eating pie.
Love it. I love it. Nothing wrong with that, you know.
Yeah.
That's where you break it out. If you're going to do a bourbon pecan pie, you do it at the Grove. I mean,
I guess so. There was a nice, great person. She passed away about 20 years ago in Far City, and she had the best rum cake recipe ever. I mean, it was just great. But I saw her for a couple years preparing it, and I mean, it was
heavy doses.
Large amounts of rum going in there. So that first Christmas that I quit drinking, really ever since, I'd always pass. And I jokingly, years afterwards, I said, I don't want all this work to get wrecked by eating a piece of rum cake.
A little cake, and then it's downhill from there.
Do you partake, Brian?
Off the wagon.
You know, I'm trying to think.
I love a good rum cake.
I don't know if I've ever been
ice cream, some good man.
In the presence of rum cake. I can't remember any time someone being like, you want a slice of rum cake?
It was the best ever. And it was like eating ice cream. It was the best. But after I quit drinking, I had to pass on any rum cake. Didn't want to get in trouble. Brian, I have for a long time. I know others have joined me. Last week, I say it every year. I look forward to it every year. And I don't want to turn today into this. We might turn a summertime show next summer, July 2025. Write it down into this. But I contend, pound for pound, last week, when you start on Monday morning and you get all the way through last night. I know it covers about 8 days. But when you take it that full week, feast week, rivalry week, the best week of sports of the year.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, because you're getting a little bit of everything. You're getting the tournaments and MTEs with basketball, which are always thrilling, and you get kind of the from morning to middle of the night action, and then that goes right into kind of when those are winding down. You get rivalry week, and you never know what to expect with those. And we saw it this weekend. Anything can happen, and it makes it really fun to watch.
There was one. It was some big names in it. I don't think tipped until like 11:30 one night last week.
Yeah, it's probably one of those player era classic games out in Vegas. I remember that night. I don't remember. I think it was like Houston and Notre Dame.
That got pushed to about 11:45
sure
tip time.
That
Central.
the game before, I believe Rutgers was playing somebody, and I don't remember if that game went to overtime, but it was a long game, and I think it did go into overtime. So it was fun, and you had to sacrifice some sleep to watch all of it, but it was worth it, I think.
Speaking of MTs, Danny Hurley just taking his MTs and heading home, isn't he?
You know, we've talked about this before. I like Dan Hurley. I don't have an issue with him, but Dan, that's one of those things. Brett, like you said, we'll save these conversations to summertime shows. You save that comment for middle of summer, camp. You got some guys in the gym and kind of an offhand comment in media availability. I don't think we're going to do MTEs anymore. You don't say it. Your first media availability back from Maui after you just got beat
spanked
3 games in a row. I mean, you got to keep that in your back pocket because now you just look like a sore loser. I mean, you can say that down the road and people go, okay, that's strange, but whatever. But you say it right after. It's not a good look. I did not like hearing that from Dan Hurley.
I didn't either. And Brian, through the years, I just strongly reject getting too aggravated over any poll. Mm-hmm. AP poll, political poll, basketball poll, any poll. Don't get, because you're going to have finality. Mm-hmm. I'm going to deviate from that just a little bit today. And we talked about it some last week with the torrid stretch the Memphis Tigers were on and really woke up all of college basketball to what the Tigers can be and can do this year. I would have never believed with that Maui performance it would have just been that hit, that increase in AP polling. Tigers came in today at 16. Only 31 at the net. I was shocked by both. I don't know if anybody can ever really explain to me net, but whatever. I know it's.
We'd be here all year, Brad, if we were trying to explain.
If it's not the Holy Grail, it's dang sure a Grail.
It's big. It's something they definitely look at.
But just 16th for Memphis. I mean, I know why. Why is Duke ahead of Memphis? I know Wisconsin and Cincinnati, that 0 is the reason why they're ahead. But to paraphrase a little bit from football, from what Lane Kiffin's talking about with Ole Miss comparison to South Carolina, why do we play if head-to-head doesn't matter? Why don't we just have a committee and you just draw up it however you'd like?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. We'll have to talk about Lane Kiffin's comments a little bit later. But, no, I mean, it's definitely an interesting case. And, I think the Tigers, what I had been seeing over the weekend from a lot of people that were kind of doing mock top 25s, felt like the range was between 11 and 15. So I wasn't overly surprised at 16.
Where do you think they should have fallen in?
I think this is right about it. I thought
you do. Okay.
I thought it was going to be 15, but I'm not going to.
I'm more outraged over an AP poll than you are.
Yes, actually. I thought it was going to be. My guess was going to be 15. So 16. I'm not going to get super upset about. But
I thought 9 to 12 to 13.
Yeah.
Would have been about.
That's still, same range pretty much.
Is it enough to jump up and down and get mad over?
Not on December 2nd, I don't think.
I'm probably not, but why do you play?
It's a good question.
If beating Hurley and Izzo isn't enough in losing to a team that will be in the Elite Eight.
Oh, easily will be in the Elite Eight.
It's going to beat a lot of teams. What do you got to do?
Yeah, and we talked to Kevin Sweeney about it last week when that game was going on. He said, for his money, Auburn's the best team in the country. And I'd have to agree. What they've shown this year, and Janai Broome is an incredible player. To lose that game is nothing. It's you lost a game. You ran into a buzzsaw. It happens. But, yeah, it's I would have liked them to be a little higher. But, coming in at 16, it's a big jump. And, it's better to make that type of jump than the 23-spot drop that UConn saw today.
Do you see that?
Still in the top 25. Still number 25.
How are they?
Yeah, well, because that name and that brand, UConn.
That name and that brand was built before this year.
Yeah.
We're now talking about this year. Yeah. And speaking of this year, whether it's college basketball or college football, I wish everybody would get on the same page and stay on it. And I am. what happened last week in Maui should matter for Memphis on Selection Sunday.
Yep.
If they had had a rough week, same thing would apply. The rest of this non-conference, the rest of December, and then you'll settle into conference. It should matter. It's called your season. It's called a schedule. It's not, and I'm hearing South Carolina fans and on Twitter and hearing them on various places.
Very loud, yes.
Everyone I hear is about as annoying as the one or two I know around town, South Carolina fans. If a shoe fits, wear it. Too bad. But they're talking about, if we played you right now today, well, that's never been how you schedule.
No.
The next time South Carolina will play Alabama in football will be next year in Columbia.
Yeah.
The next time they play Ole Miss in football will be next year in Oxford. In fact, I can tell you the exact date because I know the Ole Miss schedule for next year.
Yeah.
South Carolina fans, go ahead and buy your tickets now.
Get those hotel rooms.
And come by and say hi at the Grove on November 1st.
November 1st. I love it. Come say
So,
hi.
but it's never been scheduled. If we played this second, okay, well let's assemble everybody in 3, 2, 1 action.
Well, Brett, it's the same thing with your favorite coach in the SECs. If we played him 9 more times, if we played 10
speak to
times,
that.
we're gonna.
So, Brian, through the
won.
years, hadn't it been widely discussed, talked about, considered, and agreed on that the Egg Bowl had gotten off the rails, gotten very toxic?
Yes, very.
Hadn't it been widely discussed that through the last several years, starting with Matt Luke and Joe Moorhead, they started out recruiting with each other. They said, we got to tone this down. We got to get back to acting like we got some sense. And then it really was ramped up with the friendship, kinship of the late great Mike Leach and Coach Kiffin, and it's even continuing now with Lane and Jeff Lebby's friendship. From all the stuff around college football, can you believe the one place that acted like it had sense was at the Egg Bowl?
I mean,
it is a first when we don't show our rear ends at the Egg Bowl.
You have a history. There's a history there with that game.
And forever around the Iron Bowl, yes, with the fans. I've seen sorority girls fist fight pregame at Legion Field before at an Iron Bowl.
Yeah, I've heard that
I've seen and heard a lot of stuff. I've sat around and heard it in the stands, a lot of stuff at the Iron Bowl. One thing the Iron Bowl has always prided itself on the field, none of that junk. No face mask grabbing, no, but it did Saturday. What's the common denominator in the toxic Egg Bowl and now the Iron Bowl acting like that?
I think it's coach.
I think it's the coach at Auburn.
Hugh Freeze, that would be. Yeah. Our favorite coach in the SEC, Brett.
It was there Saturday on display at the Iron Bowl.
No, it definitely was on display kind of everywhere. I mean, it's a heated Saturday of college football.
It sure was, and on that, I'm with everybody. I'm fundamentally with people that on the flag planting. I'm fundamentally with you.
Okay.
But, Brian, what's going to be next? What's going to be next that offends you that the winner has to have the terms of victory dictated to them by the defeated?
Well, that's a good point.
And never in human history has the defeated gets to tell the winner how to act.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
In anything, sports or otherwise.
Yeah.
There's a term for it. To the victor go the spoils. Now, the victor needs to act like they have some sense. I agree with that. I agree with that. No leg hiking. No, okay, maybe no flag planting. But then what's going to be the next thing? If you're the visitor, only play your fight song one time after you win. What's going to be next? What's going to be next that a bunch of pouty babies?
Yeah.
I wish Ohio State had fought during the game like they did post game.
Yeah, I wish they would have played as hard as
because they fought like hell post game.
No, they definitely did.
And I know Gus Johnson was ready to make Jack Sawyer the next governor of Ohio on the interception.
Yeah.
He didn't make any kind of good play. If the Michigan quarterback floats the ball at all and feathers it a little bit instead of fogging it, it'd have been a walk-in touchdown. And Gus just screaming away, ready to put Jack Sawyer's face on the money in Ohio. And then he's wanting to fight like that over a flag post game. You bunch of big spoiled babies. Ohio State thinks it's a birthright with their $21 million NIL and coming down in rating and getting SEC players, Quinshon Judkins and 2 from Alabama, Caleb Downs and Seth McLaughlin, the other 2, and we're just going to walk to our championship.
Yeah. No, it's 0 fight. Hey, Brett, my thing is, if you don't want a flag planted in your logo, don't lose at home. I mean, that's really the common denominator.
Why don't you fight defending that goal line as hard as you fought over that logo midfield post game?
I mean, win the game, defend your home field.
But I fundamentally agree that, the flag planting has obviously really hit the sore spot with a lot of people.
Yep, you just watched football on Saturday. It hit the sore spot with a lot of people.
Brian, mark my words. It maybe after old Brett's done, it could be down the road a little bit. There's going to be the next thing that you can't do when you win.
Yeah, kind of one of those unwritten rules.
Now you raise that Egg Bowl trophy too high over your head after you won.
Celebrate a little too much.
Paul Bunyan's axe. You took too many swigs out of the little brown jug.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'll be honest.
Count on it because we've never been in a bigger culture of accommodating the loser.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. I hope it doesn't come to that, but I'm afraid you're probably right. I'll be honest. I had no problems with flags being planted.
Didn't bother me at all.
Didn't bother
me. Fight
away.
away.
I mean, it's cool. You win a rivalry game. Bring rivalries back. I mean.
And why did the Ohio Campus Police go full Bull Connor?
I mean, that was insane. I mean, we got pepper spray out here. Pepper spraying the players. It was a wild Saturday. We'll talk a lot about it. Also, Tigers won on Thanksgiving night over Tulane. A big win with everything Tulane kind of had going for them. And what could have been, Memphis chops that right in half.
Great win.
It was a tremendous win. We'll talk a lot about
and
that.
And overcame the 2 dumbest penalties in the history of the sport.
Yes, they did. So we'll talk a lot of Tigers, Tiger football, and Tiger basketball throughout the show. But let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us. We'll talk about that game. He was down in New Orleans for the game against Tulane. We'll talk about that game, talk about maybe where the Tigers could be heading for a bowl game, and also transfer portal news that have really started to ramp up for the Tigers. We'll do that in our next segment at 3:30. 3:45, we'll talk Tiger basketball as they're back from Maui, a 2-1 week in Maui, but a 3-1 road trip, including that win over San Francisco. We'll talk about that. Talk about their next game this week, Wednesday night against La Tech. 4 o'clock, Chris Gordy from 790 in Houston, the Locked On SEC podcast. He'll join us. We'll talk the SEC. We'll talk about what the what the college football playoffs could look like and what SEC teams might have an argument to be in, or if that really is an argument. We'll do that at 4 o'clock. 4:30, be our Sissy's Log Cabin, look back at the weekend in the SEC. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, DeMichael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us. Last time we talked to DeMichael, we asked him, what do the Grizzlies need to do over these next 4 home games? And he said, go out and win them all. Sweep these next 4 games. That's exactly what the Grizzlies did. So we'll talk about the Grizzlies, this 6-game win streak they're on, and what they've got coming up. 5:30, we'll get to our Monday Night Football pick and preview. Denver against Cleveland tonight. Right now, Denver is 6.5-point favorite. We'll also do our Big 4 running backs combined for both Denver and Cleveland. And then we'll wrap up today's show like we always do at 5:45 with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Get over to Family Leisure for the Ultimate Game Room and Fall Sale. Complete the Ultimate Game Room with a new pool table, shuffleboard, and an arcade game. Help them clear out their overstock of theater seating. It's all priced to move. It's also perfect fire pit weather. And at Family Leisure, all fire pits are 20 to 30% off. Spas are up to $1,500 off. They're in-stock spas, and they're also ready for delivery. So head over to Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
With you until 6 o'clock, we're Sports Time. Landon, Darian, Bryant, Brett, and we want you to join us at 901-360-8255 at the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line. All our guests will appear at the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line at 901-360-8255. Happy holidays to everyone. And as Bryant said, we're always in our Family Leisure Studios. This hour always brought to you by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on the very few remaining remaining 2024 models. Always special leasing options, but 2025, it's here. Call them at 901-334-9673. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by the one and only Lexus dealership at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the safe luxury driving experience. Online at LexusOfMemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day has got to be the Tigers and their win over Tulane. The last regular season game of the season. They were 2-touchdown underdogs, and really, I didn't really know what to expect from this game. You knew it was going to be a big game. It's been, put out there as a big game even before the season started. There was a reason that this was the final game of the season on ESPN, Thanksgiving night. A lot of people before the season thought that this could be the game between the two teams playing in the conference championship. This game could decide who hosts the conference championship. It could be two teams fighting to see which team gets to the college football playoffs, but instead it was a team in Tulane that had pretty much everything in front of them. Just a couple of days before, on the college football playoff ranking show, they had Heather Dinich on, right next to the bracket, and she's painting out the picture of the chaos we have in the Big 12, and if something crazy happens and Tulane wins out and wins the American, you could have two Group of 5 champions, because the 5 are the 5 highest rated conference champions, and Tulane could fit that mold. But what happens? Memphis goes out there and gets the win. It was 10-7 after the first quarter, but the second and third quarter, the Tigers dominated Tulane, outscoring them 17-0, and then in the fourth quarter, they did enough to keep a 10-point lead and get the win. Seth Hennigan, really good, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mario Anderson was fantastic, 177 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown. Greg Duosier also ran for a touchdown. Greg Duosier had a fantastic game, 3 total touchdowns. He made some money, 1 touchdown on the ground, 2 through the air with receiving touchdowns. A really, really solid game for him. Defensively, thought the defense looked really, really good. Darian Mensah, who's been really good all season, he threw an interception, 317 yards for him. He did throw 2 touchdowns, but on the ground, Tulane could not get anything going, only 57 yards rushing for them. I thought in the trenches, the Tigers really looked dominant, and a big-time win for the Tigers. It gets them in the top 25 in both the AP and the coaches poll to end the regular season, and now you see Tiger basketball up in the top 25, so you've got both your football and basketball programs in the AP top 25s. Good day to be a Tiger.
Great day to be a Tiger. Great week to be a Tiger. That's my top story from last week across the 2 primary revenue-producing sports, football and basketball. It may have been the greatest week ever for the Memphis Tigers. From Maui to New Orleans to Memphis, it was pure delight for the Tigers, all unfolding on ESPN with a lot of eyeballs in conference realignment, poobahs, I hope, all watching. Look, the Tigers have been to 3 Final Fours. You set those 3 weeks by as probably the best 3 weeks ever, and going to the finals twice in 2 of those 3 appearances. But that was about as good as crossover football, basketball, a week you can ever have.
It was fantastic.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day, it's got to be rivalry week in college football. It lived up to the hype that we were talking about. You go all the way back to Friday night when we had the 8-overtime thriller between Georgia Tech and Georgia. It looked like Georgia Tech was going to run away with that game in regulation, but here comes Georgia. They're able to tie it extremely late in the game and then let overtime begin. And I did not think overtime was ever going to end. We get to the third overtime where now we're doing alternating 2-point conversions, and it feels like nobody can connect. Once they connect, the other team finally connects, and we go to 8 overtimes. Ultimately, Georgia gets the win, but it was a thrilling game. Then move to Saturday. Michigan pulls the upset on Ohio State, a game where Ohio State did not play well at all. I mean, it was a really bad game, and now you're hearing Ryan Day, you can't lose to Michigan that many times. I've heard people say that there is a good amount of the fan base that says even if he wins the national championship. That's fine. Fire him. If he can't beat Michigan, we don't want him. You know that's a heated rivalry when you get stuff like that. Just a weird game from start to finish for Ohio State and Michigan. You continue throughout the day. Vanderbilt scores 2 quick touchdowns, takes a lead at halftime. Tennessee comes back and win that. Iron Bowl was fun. It was a really, really fun. You had a snow game in Arkansas, Missouri. It was a great weekend of college football.
It was. It's been my favorite year of college football ever. The whole year has been just phenomenal, outstanding stuff. That's my not top story. Rivalry weekend is the weekend that made college football famous. It's my favorite, and these games were so riveting. Michigan over Ohio State is the win of the year. It is the biggest win for anybody. 20-point underdog with a rookie head coach, and they go into the horseshoe and win the game, and they win the fight. It's a Brett rule. Anybody that wins the game, no matter what happens in the fight, you've won the fight. So who's really going to be out there going, yeah, they beat us, but we won the fight? Where are you hanging that banner? Where are you hanging? We won the banner of winning the fight, but we lost the game. Nobody's ever said it. If you win the game, you win the fight. And now let's see if the College Football Playoff Committee will punish Ohio State. Remember, Georgia dropped 9 spots for losing on the road at Ole Miss. Let's see how they punish Ohio State for losing at home as a 20-point favorite. They never punish Ohio State.
It's a good question, though. But, yeah, I don't think we're going to see a big punishment for OHIO.
Come by and say hi.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to a break. And when we come back, talking Tiger football with Jonah Dillon.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Here's Gould's Holiday Special in-store and online. Come to any Gould's over the Black Friday weekend or purchase online on Cyber Monday and Tuesday and receive $20 off when you purchase $120 in gift cards. It's the perfect gift for everyone. This holiday season, give the gift of tranquility with a spa gift card. Perfect for anyone who deserves a moment to unwind, refresh, and rejuvenate. Happy holidays from Gould's. Gould's Spa, locally owned and operated since 1932.
Jenkins Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixer. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again because you need the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
The 2025 Range Rover Sport sits right at the heart of the Land Rover lineup, offering a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility. Smaller and more agile than a full-size Range Rover, it's a great option for everyone who wants luxury and practicality. Every model comes with 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive standard. Whether you navigate city streets or tackle rough terrain, Range Rover Sport has you covered. Every drive is powerful and breathtaking. The 2025 Range Rover Sport is the epitome of sporty luxury. Test drive one in Jaguar Land Rover, Bluff City.
Football, Westwood 1. AFC action coming up with the Cleveland Browns at the red-hot Denver Broncos. Rookie quarterback Bo Nix in Denver looking to improve their record to an impressive 8-5. The confident Browns are coming off a big division win over the Steelers. Join me and Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner for all the action on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
This story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to.
yet, we're ordering pizza. There's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings. Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Felix Cavalieri, Rascals will be performing with Six Water. This year's Puzzle Liberty Bowl, and you'll want to be there too. You'll hear all the iconic hits at the President's Gala on December 26th in Lima. And at halftime, 66 Puzzle Liberty Bowl on December 27th. Get your tickets today by calling the AutoZone Liberty Bowl at 795-7700. The Tennessee Highway Safety Office reminds you that fans don't let fans drive first.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Keeping an eye on this construction zone over here. It still wants to slow down from time to time. Northbound, especially on 55 up by Macklemore there at South Parkway. It's looking pretty good over here at the moment. 240 east at Poplar, working your way past Walnut Grove. 240 as you get on to 385 Billmore's Parkway. Not bad at the moment. Hey, don't miss the pet photos with Santa coming up this Saturday at the Humane Society. For more information on all this, just log on to their website at memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Service. Here are your hosts, Red Star Sports Movie and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now to talk some Tiger football, Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat writer at the Commercial Appeal, joins us now. Jonah, thanks so much for joining us. Big win for the Tiger football team on Thanksgiving in New Orleans against Tulane, and this was, a team in Tulane that came into this game. If they win, they'd be hosting the conference championship game. There were ESPN during the college football playoff ranking show was talking about how if they went out and something crazy happens in the Big 12, that they could get into the playoffs. Tulane had everything in front of them. They just have to win out, and the Tigers go out there and dominate that game really from start to finish. What was your biggest takeaway from the Tigers' win Thursday night?
Yeah, I think it was a domination. I mean, they just, the first drive of the game, they came in and it was like clearly Memphis came in with an aggressive game plan, 2 deep throws on the first drive of the game, and just took it to Tulane throughout the whole game, really, like you said. I mean, it was like, I think as Taylor Jenkins likes to say, they punked them, right? Like that's kind of what it was. Like they just came in, and he likes to say that when the Grizzlies lose, obviously. But I think like it was that kind of a game where, like, if you're on the Tulane sideline, you're sitting there like, we're just getting dominated on both sides of the ball. They were losing the battle up front. The inability to run the ball was shocking because they come in as with the top running back in the conference. Mekhi Hughes, one of the best running backs in the country, and had easily by far the worst performance of his college career. Just had nothing going the entire game. They had no balance offensively. Then you have uncharacteristic mistakes. I think obviously this team came in here and we've seen how good Tulane was all season. They did not play their best. I think it was a little bit of, we talk about Memphis, they go to play these other teams and like the games they lost in AV and UTSA, where you're playing teams that aren't as good as you, but when you play them, they play their best every time. It was kind of like the opposite in this game. Memphis played really well, Tulane didn't, and you saw what happened. It was never really competitive.
Just left to wonder change 2 plays. Change the last drive at Navy, Seth Hennigan making a play instead of the pick, and you change, one play at UTSA?
Well, you could change the touchdown celebration by Demir Blakency, right? I mean, I think the UTSA one is harder because, it was a whole third quarter of just completely inept offense. It wasn't like, oh man, if he had made this play. I mean, look, they had a chance with an onside kick at the end of the game. Would have been a remarkable comeback. That game was harder. That game was more, especially offensively in that second half and in that third quarter. There were a lot of problems. The Navy game, obviously, defensively, huge problem. if you could go back, I think if you could go back to that game and tell Jordan Hankins, we'll give you another shot at game planning this one, I think that's what he would want, right? Because I think that they approached that game clearly the wrong way defensively and could have been better. But yeah, you saw how good, like I said after the game, I mean, this might be the best team in the conference, right? But the conference title game is on Friday and Memphis isn't even playing in it. So that's the reality.
It's excruciating. Jonah, we're good. We're very good friends. I can take it. I would really respect it from you. Was my 12-0 nuts?
No, I mean, I think at the beginning it seemed like it was because of the Florida State game. I would have said, right? Like that seemed like the stretch.
You nicely at the golf tournament kind of said, Brett, I think you really left the loony.
No, I think in retrospect, like Memphis should have won those two games, right? They should have beat UTSA and Navy. Look, if Memphis played Florida State now, Tigers would be huge favorites, as would almost every team in the country. But I think in retrospect, like it was possible. And even if one misstep like they had against Navy, if they had just corrected it, UTSA, to me, that's the one that I think at least I'm going to think back on the most because, when they played Navy at that point of the season, that Navy team was playing really well. I don't think it's the same team now than it was back then because the way they play lends itself to, injuries and a lot of wear and tear throughout the season. You saw how they played against Tulane. That just wasn't the same team that we saw against Memphis. But the UTSA game, I mean, look, that team obviously played well. They turned their season around, but that team should not have been able to compete with Memphis, especially not with the Memphis team that we saw against Tulane. And I think that's going to be the one that we kind of think back on as, and I wrote about it after the game, like that's the question you're going to think is, what do they beat UTSA? Because if you want to look at what the world would be like in that situation, you're talking about Memphis is 11-1 going to Army because Army would still have that undefeated conference record. So, we'd get a trip to cold West Point on Friday night. And I think there will be certainly you're talking about UNLV against Boise State as a play-in game. If Boise State won that game and Memphis was 12-1 with the conference championship, I don't think UNLV, I don't think they'd get over them. Then you have the conversation, like you said earlier, with the playoff and the Big 12. But the reality of it is Memphis would be in the conversation 100% right now. They would be alive in the college football playoff race. And those are the margins. You go from that to we're not even talking about a game this Friday.
Yeah, it's disappointing. It is of what the season could be, but
shows how close they are, though.
It really does.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So since we're not talking about playoff, we're talking about bowl games. Where do you think could be possible destinations for the Tigers to play in a bowl game?
Yeah, I mean, spin the wheel, and I think there's a couple. You've got so Memphis is not going to play in the Liberty Bowl again, so we can I know last year it was kind of becoming apparent in the last couple weeks of the season that this was going to be a possibility, especially it was okay, well, these many SEC teams have to lose, even before we got to the last week of the season. There's going to be enough SEC teams to fill the affiliation, and it wouldn't go there anyways. I think the ones that are possible, in terms of tie-ins, are Fenway Bowl, obviously Boston Military Bowl, which is in Annapolis. I guess would be a chance to rectify that game earlier this season. You've got the Independence Bowl, which is in Shreveport, which is a new one, and a couple other Armed Forces Bowl, and then there's a couple ones where you could go the Birmingham Bowl and the Gasparilla Bowl. So at this point, it's not I don't think anything is clear. If you look at the bowl projections, I had a story yesterday. It's kind of all over the place. And the reality of these things is a lot of it's not going to get decided until the last minute because, it's going to depend on who wins the AAC title game and then which bowls are taking which teams. And so it's hard to say, but I do think, obviously it's not 100%. I think it's likely that Memphis is going to play a power conference team regardless of where it is. And so that will give them, an opportunity to, depending on what that team is, I think it could be an interesting game in terms of what's going on. Obviously, we got to think about potential opt-outs, right? Because we see that a lot of times. But I think if Memphis plays against a team with most of its roster, like last year against Iowa State had some opt-outs, but a lot of the guys that are going to play in the Big 12 title game for Iowa State played in the Liberty Bowl last year. So I think that would be interesting if they can get that kind of a game. But yeah, it's hard to tell. A lot up in the air.
Jonah, it feels like, it hears like, and on social media, and I know that's not the real world, it's not everybody by any means, but it feels like regardless of what Ryan Silverfield does, there's a whole bunch. I don't know if it's a majority, but they're loud. They will never be pleased. If he finishes the bowl game with 11 wins, then it's, he's going to fall on his face next year. It's almost prophets of doom out there around him. Why is it so galvanizing? Why has Ryan Silverfield become such a lightning rod?
Yeah, well, I think it's a couple of things. One, in college sports and probably just in life, once you get it in your head that something is a certain way, it's very hard to convince people that it's not. So if people have been convinced that they're out on Ryan Silverfield, it's going to be very difficult to bring them back. You see that with a lot of different coaches, right? Once you decide this guy's not who I want or this guy's not cutting it, they have to do a lot to earn people back. Now, it's possible. You can see it. I think he did gain some fans back, especially like he gained some fans with the Liberty Bowl win. He definitely gained some fans with the win over Florida State. Some people, like you said, are never going to be satisfied. I do think, look, if Memphis was going to the AAC title game, then all the people saying, well, you never went to an AAC title game, they would have to either find something else to be upset about, or they would have to say, okay, you did it, right? So there is reason for people, you didn't go to AAC title game. We talked about the playoff all season, and Memphis obviously isn't going to the playoff. So I think that those people who said those things are still going to continue with that. And I think that, the way to solve that is to do the things that they say you can't do, right? And so far that hasn't happened. I think, like you said, I think there would still be people who are unhappy no matter what, but there are always going to be people unhappy. Just that's how sports is. I think ultimately that's the issue in this case, and it's causing a weird kind of dynamic with how we remember this season, even though 10-2 obviously for most teams would be considered a really good season.
Yeah. Jonah, last week, Iowa running back LaShawn Williams, who entered the transfer portal earlier this year, committed to the University of Memphis. It felt like a very early commitment out of the transfer portal. And then today I see on your Twitter page that he has flipped and committed to the University of Kansas. What do you think led to this flip to go from Memphis to Kansas? Do you think maybe just a better offer, maybe just a bigger school comes after him, or maybe could it be that a couple running backs are going to be returning next year?
Yeah, I think a lot goes into it. When you see nowadays with commitments, a commitment, it's never meant anything, right?
Yeah.
Now, to some people it does. Some people will say, I'm going to commit one time and that's going to be it. Commitment, just in terms of saying you're committed to a school, right? It doesn't mean anything. You haven't signed anything. All you've done is, sent out a nice graphic and said, I'm going to go to this school. So, or a video or whatever it is. Now, a lot of times especially with the transfer portal, but really just with NIL where we are now, committing somewhere is really like a leverage play of, okay, I'm really going to go to this school. You don't think I'm going to go to Memphis? Okay, well, look, I just committed there, so now you better pay me more money. I'm not saying that's what happened in this case. It happens in a lot of situations. People are committed and they're still taking, official visits to other places. Like there are people who are committed to power conference schools right now who are going to sign with Memphis on Wednesday. That's just the reality. And so I think, yes, in that case, I do think with the running backs, people were a little bit surprised, right? Because you're hoping that Sutton Smith comes back next year from his knee injury and is able to be Memphis' top running back. I think people would be really excited if Memphis entered the season with Sutton Smith as top running back, because people wanted to see what that looked like this year. And obviously, he's flashed that kind of incredible potential over the past couple of years. You saw what Greg DeRosier did, Makari Bodiford. Like, if Memphis went into next year with just the running back room that they have now, minus the people who are graduating, I don't think that would be that bad. There's a lot of talent there. So I would expect probably some sort of, somebody to come in the portal. But yeah, this is the kind of thing we're going to see it again, right? Like I said, we saw it with this one. I'm sure it's going to happen multiple times with other guys both coming to and leaving Memphis. And yeah.
Yeah, we're to that point of the season where it's transfer season, and you're going to get a lot of this in and out. So I know it will be a lot of fun for you. Jonah, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jonah. Jonah Dillon joining us, the Tiger football beat writer from the Commercial Appeal, joining us to talk Tiger football. And today it looks like a lot of guys committing out of high school to Memphis. I think 2 or 3 today, and even a couple more over the weekend announcing their commitments to Memphis. So even though the regular season's over, still very, very busy over there as really the offseason starts.
You know, one thing that really, really hit me when I was looking at the Tiger commit list at Rivals, now it may have changed. It may have changed today. Not a single player from Shelby County or the state of Tennessee.
Wow. I see. I don't think I realized that, but that's crazy. That's, it's good. You'd be able to go out and get talented guys from other places is good. I think, you'd like to have guys from here. Obviously, everyone likes to root for Memphis
especially when you got 3 high schools going to state championships.
How about that?
Brett, that stinks to me.
Y'all peruse Rivals during the break. Make sure I'm right on that. But
I will.
Somewhere this weekend, I looked at that and it stood out. And it stood out to me that for Ole Miss, not a single player committed from Memphis or the state of Louisiana.
Really?
If I'm correct. Let me check all that.
I believe you, but both of those are really kind of wild. But we'll have to look at it during this break. And when we come back, got to talk Tiger basketball. They have returned from Maui. They have returned in the AP Top 25. And now Wednesday night, back at home against Louisiana Tech. We'll talk about that next on Sports Time.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Chicken is here to stay, and it's not your parents' orchard. The Cantina Chicken menu from Taco Bell is slow roasted and perfectly seasoned. Take a Taco Bell in a crispy white corn tortilla with cheese inside and out, or wrapped in a burrito with fresh purple cabbage and freshly prepared pico de gallo. However you like it, you'll never chicken the same way again. Get yours today at your nearest Taco Bell and join rewards to buy free food. Available at participating stores. Rewards points are for qualifying purchases on
With Progressive, you get more than savings. You get access to us through our mobile app, online chat, or by phone.
Oh, I see what you're doing here, Jamie. Giving me all these ways to stay in touch so I have no excuse not to. Well, you're in luck, because this guy's in the market for a new BFF.
Actually, all our customers can contact us this way.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just kidding.
But I am always up for
Taco Pizza!
Oh, Jigsaw!
Progressive through the website, app, chat, or phone. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates.
Don't miss your Memphis Hustle. Take on the Birmingham Squadron this Monday, December 2nd at Landers Center at 7 p.m. Arrive early for Winter Wonderland, and the first 500 fans will receive a Hustle Knit hat. Visit MemphisHustle.com to purchase tickets today.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour is brought to you by Exercise. Here are your hosts, Brent Starks
Tiger fight song.
Fight song Monday.
How about that?
Love it.
Darren, what are we excited or something? But the Tigers have a good week or something?
Of course, you do. Brett, this is between me and Brian. Last week when we were hosting on Wolo, I would not play the fight song. I would not do anything
every day
close to it because I wanted to see Penny come out on the other side just like this. So 6-1, top 16. Now we can enjoy it. Now
we play
we
fight
can
song
enjoy
every day for me.
Now we can enjoy it. We were being sports guys, superstitious and whatnot.
Let me correct myself too. At Rivals, for Memphis, I was right. Yeah. There's not a single player right now on the list of Tiger commitments from the city of Memphis nor the state of Tennessee. Same for Ole Miss. Ole Miss does have Louisiana players committed.
It's interesting though with the Tigers that they don't have anybody local, which I think that's a fine thing. I mean, I think there's two different approaches to it, but I'm fine with it.
I do too, but I know there's ball players here though.
100%. So I'd like a little bit of a mix, but it is
but
it is.
I will say to our audience what I said to you guys during the break. When I see these hometowns for the Tigers commits, Dallas, Georgia, Beaufort, Georgia, Cartersville, Georgia, Warner Robins, Georgia, McDonough, Georgia, Covington, Georgia, just carte blanche, I take them.
Yeah, no, I mean those are good football towns. They produce good players. So no, I'm not mad at that. But Tiger basketball, we got to talk Tiger hoops. They come in the AP poll number 16, coaches poll number 15 after the big week they had last week in Maui. A big jump on the other side. UConn drops 23 spots to number 25 in the country. But for the Tigers, after last week, you now return, and Wednesday night you host Louisiana Tech. So it's back to home, and hopefully, we talked about this last week, Brett, hopefully it's a big crowd to welcome them back.
Again, y'all know I am not that big on any AP poll in basketball.
Yeah.
And I don't like to go conspiratorial. And now I'm going to do both in less than an hour. High hard one. On Selection Sunday, will the Tigers get the bigger benefit of Maui, or will UConn get the bigger punishment from Maui?
Oh, geez.
If Maui's considered, which one of the two more likely to occur in the committee room?
From what they are showing you by where they're ranked, obviously UConn will be hindered more. To drop 23 spots, I mean, they're showing you they're not afraid to break out the whooping stick, right?
I don't think
on December 2nd.
Oh, December 2nd.
I kind of am the opposite. I think there'll be less because if they go and they're good in Big East play,
they'll say ho hum.
It'll be forgotten.
It'll
be 2 seconds.
3 games in 3 days. It was early in the season.
Way back when.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It's the season. It's part of their schedule.
Yeah.
Whether it's opening night November 4th or a week ago or 2 weeks from now, it's part of it.
Yeah.
But and too much NCAA basketball tournament jargon, I'm afraid, has infiltrated into the football room. It's too much heat of the moment, and especially for football when you play a limited number of games.
Yeah.
September 10th has to matter as much as last week.
No, yeah. Even almost even more than basketball because it's less games and
here's one for the College Football Playoff Committee. Hunter Yurchek's on the committee. He is the SEC representative on the committee.
Yeah.
With that, you have the might and the power of Greg Sankey appointing you. I promise you, Hunter did not get on that committee without Greg Sankey making sure he got on there. Without him knowing. It was not a deal to where, y'all tell me who y'all want to represent.
Let's do a vote. Everyone write down your name.
And my contention is his job is to advocate or at least defend. Maybe not advocacy, but certainly defense of SEC teams. Well, we know 3 are going. Tennessee's in, Texas is in, Georgia's in. Those 3 are in. And it's coming down to one of 3 places, or maybe one more spot out of 3 teams. And I would like to know at the end of it who he fought for. If Alabama gets in, I want to ask him, so you fought for them over South Carolina and Ole Miss. Or if it's Ole Miss, so you fought for them over South Carolina and Alabama. Or if it's South Carolina, and he had to deny, or not deny, he had to reject that he's leaving Arkansas for the open AD job at South Carolina. His name was linked to it with open. He said he's not going to do that. So I think after they reveal next Sunday, people need to be asking him, who'd you fight for?
It's a good question that I hadn't really thought about. But, yeah, I mean, if the SEC gets another team in there, then you would think, okay, he fought for that team. I would love to see what those conversations and what those arguments were like that, put that team ahead of the other two.
I'm serious. Basketball and football. Why in all this public purview?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Why are we not streaming this?
Yeah,
and I don't mean we do the video part and then we do the real meeting. I mean out front. Here it is.
Yeah,
here's the case for these teams. Because my
saying.
contention is for the 3 SEC teams that are kind of still waiting, none of you get it.
Yeah.
Miami gets it. And here's why. Well, we know if SMU beats Clemson, they're the champion. They're in. Clemson's not getting at large, right?
No.
And shouldn't. If Clemson wins, they're the champion. I think SMU gets in. Miami should get in for this reason. 2's less than 3. And I'm hearing people pick at Miami's schedule. They won easily at the reestablished Swamp.
Yeah.
Now, it was opening weekend, but it was this season. They beat Cal. They narrowly beat Cal. They probably should have lost to Cal. Cal won on the road in SEC. The 3 lost SEC teams, I think you're out.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, Sunday's a big day, but I will say this. When I'm on Twitter, I think it was Sunday maybe late Saturday night, and I see Clemson being called a bid stealer. Oh, Brett, it got me fired up. I mean, the crossover we're seeing with the terms and everything.
That's what Brett was talking about.
I don't like it.
Bid stealing, bracketology, all of that is right now, Brett.
I love it. It's interesting. But Sunday's that day. It's kind of hard to believe that we're already there to Selection Sunday, if you will.
Selection Sunday, you did it again.
We'll ask Chris Gordy this coming up in a few minutes. We'll ask him, do you really think any of those 3 have a case? Yeah. Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss.
And if they do, I want to hear the case.
My simple response is you can't lose at home to Kentucky. You can't allow Vandy to score 40. And you can't lose to both Alabama and Ole Miss. And that's the other 2 in your kind of group.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So let's go ahead and wrap up this hour, because when we come back, we're talking the SEC. Chris Gordy from 790 in Houston, also the host of the Locked On SEC podcast. He'll join us next. We'll talk about what happened over the weekend in the SEC, and also, do these 3 teams have a case to get into the college football playoff? We'll do all of that next on Sports Time.
High-energy, full-body workout that utilizes the same equipment and technology employed by Floyd Mayweather to achieve his impressive 50-0 record. The workout features 4 types of heavy bags, treadmills, rows, battle ropes, weights, and much more. Visit Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, located at 2257 North Germantown Parkway in Cordova. Train like a champ. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness. 901-673-1267.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
With Progressive, you get more than savings. You get access to us through our mobile app, online chat, or by phone.
Oh, I see what you're doing here, Jamie. Giving me all these ways to stay in touch so I have no excuse not to. Well, you're in luck, because this guy's in the market for a new BFF.
Actually, all our customers can contact us this way.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just kidding.
But I am always up for
Taco Pizza! Oh, Jinx!
Progressive through the website, app, chat, or phone. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Fall is football at the Owners Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday, happy hour from 3 to 6. $1 off all draft meals, $5 off meal drinks, $4
studios. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's already trying to build out of the Midtown area. We did have a stalled vehicle a bit earlier on 240 northbound over here at Norris. Everybody was staring at it, trying to get around it, but they just moved it. Traffic's building out of Midtown right on schedule as it gets heavier. 40 westbound at Danny Thomas, working your way across to the Hernando de Soto Bridge. Shop now and save this holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure studio, and joining us now to talk some SEC football, Chris Gordy from 790 in Houston, also the host of the Locked On SEC podcast. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. Being down in Texas, I want to start off with the big game that happened in the state of Texas over the weekend. A&M and the University of Texas, those two meeting as SEC members for the first time. What was it like watching that matchup?
Well, it was awesome one to have the matchup back. I mean, this is, you talk about bitter rivals. These are two fan bases that just absolutely hate each other. And, even in their songs that they sing, the Aggie war hymn, they sing about Saul Varsity's horns off. And for Texas, they say Texas fight and it's goodbye to A&M. I mean, literally both fan bases can't stand each other. So it's good to have it back. I think we all kind of thought this in the back of our minds. Mike Elko has done a fantastic job in year one, taking over for, after they finally moved on for the Jimbo Fisher debacle. But I think we all kind of felt like it was going to take him a little while to really get this thing turned around. And, to me, they kind of played above their heads for much of this year, where Sark and where he's got Texas, they're way more ahead of schedule, making the playoff last year and all that. So kind of expected Texas to take care of business, but you never know. Hostile environment like Kyle Field. It was a sold-out crowd. Tickets were going for like $1,000 a piece. So, you kind of expected that A&M was, going to put up a little bit of better of a fight. But my goodness, that Texas defense is pretty legit for them to hold. A&M is just 7 points like they did. That was really impressive.
Chris, in Houston, in your local area, what would you say the ratio would be of UT to A&M fans, and do you find this among the angst in that rivalry, maybe more from the A&M side? Is it feels to me like A&M is more state of Texas and Texas is more Soho Berkeley?
It's kind of a mix. I mean, look, for College Station only being about an hour and 10 minutes up the road from Houston, there's a ton of Aggies, but there's a ton of Longhorns too. I mean, it's there's a lot of loud and proud Texas fans. My wife, grew up in a Texas household. Her grandparents are diehard Longhorns, but her aunt and uncle went to A&M, so their whole family is Aggies. And somehow they used to get together every Thanksgiving and be cordial enough with one another. But I mean, Aggies. I think some people would say the agriculture side maybe a little bit more blue collar, but don't get it wrong. There's a lot of rich Aggies. There's a lot of oil money there. A lot of engineers. Texas has always kind of been more the country club, but don't let A&M fool you. I mean, there's a reason how they were, why they were able to buy that number one recruiting class a couple of years when Jimbo was there. They got some money to spend. So, it's interesting. I mean, last year when Texas made the run, there was a lot of people around Houston, around the state of Texas, all wearing their Longhorn gear loud and proud. So, it is kind of a weird thing, though, because, both programs have not had a whole lot to cheer for. I mean, A&M's been in the SEC now, 14 years and still hasn't even been to Atlanta, never even gotten to an SEC championship game. And yet here's Texas in year one in the SEC getting there. But I would argue, guys, I mean, I was just diving through the numbers. Texas played the dead last worst strength of schedule among SEC teams. I mean, the fact that they went through this season and were able to avoid playing Tennessee, Ole Miss, LSU, Alabama, Missouri, basically all the teams that have been ranked in the top 25. They played two ranked teams, or two of the, perennial teams in the SEC, Georgia and A&M. and they got their butts spanked by Georgia by double digits. Look, give them credit for the A&M win, but it was basically like they were taking remedial math this year, and all the rest of us were taking algebra 2. You give them credit for getting an A+ in remedial math, but they played on a different playing field than the rest of the SEC did this year.
I so agree, Chris, and it's why in the preseason, when we did our wins and losses, I had Texas perfectly pegged. I had them 11-1, the 11 wins, the one loss against Georgia, didn't miss a single pick on Texas because I thought they got the cream puff welcome to the SEC schedule.
Yeah, and I was, do you know they only really played 2 true road SEC games this year? That was at Arkansas 2 weeks ago and at A&M this week. Their other road game was at Vanderbilt, which, for people who were there, said there were 70% Texas fans in the stand. It was basically a home game. And then their other one was neutral site against Oklahoma. So, they didn't really have to do much in terms of going on their own hostile environments. Then you consider the week they got Florida was the one week DJ Lagway was hurt and didn't play. Look what happened when Lagway got back the week later. They beat LSU, they beat Ole Miss, and they beat Florida State, went undefeated. Would have loved to see DJ Lagway play a Texas team. Would have put up a better fight than Aiden Warner, the Yale transfer, did. So, yeah, look, again, I don't want to keep harping on it. I think Texas is a good team, but I think 2 things can be true. Texas is a really good team, and they got a really favorable schedule from the SEC this year.
So with that being said, now they get Georgia in the SEC championship game. We saw what happened the first time these two teams met. It was domination by Georgia. What do you think happens this Saturday in the SEC championship game?
Well, look, when you play a team a second time in a season, it's always advantage to the team that lost, right? I mean, especially when it's 2 pretty evenly matched teams. I'll tell you this. I talked to my guy in Georgia yesterday. He said we're banged up. He said we are, absolutely licking our wounds. Now they'll get an extra day of rest, having played the Georgia Tech game on Friday night. But I mean, the 8 overtimes takes its toll, and that's a lot of workload you put on your body to get through that game. So, we'll see. They've been told maybe ATN could get back this week. The running back who's been out. Carson Beck, the one saving grace with him is, man, the last 3 games he has not thrown an interception. And that's saying something considering he had 12 over the course of 6 weeks. So for him to be playing smart football, taking care of the football, I think is advantage Georgia because he was really bad in that matchup over in Austin. So the flip side, Quinn Ewers has been very, it's the giving time of year. He's been very giving with the football. I watched them in Austin 2 weeks ago throw a pick 6 to Kentucky that kind of put them back in the game. We saw him throw an interception this past week that, kind of put A&M back in the game. So, I still don't trust Quinn Ewers. I love Arch Manning. I can't wait till we get to the Arch Manning era starting next year. But, if there's any quarterback, I trust more this weekend. To me, it's more Carson Beck right now, the way he's been playing than Quinn Ewers.
Our guest is Chris Gordy from the Locked On SEC. And also from 790 down in Houston, also covers the Rockets and the Astros and the Texans very, very, very well. And we have him often to talk about all these sports with us, and we're glad to have him with us today. Chris, how would you like to be on the committee and in the committee room if Clemson pulls the upset? If Clemson wins the ACC championship game, then it gets messy. If they don't, I think it's pretty clean. Do you? And what SEC team do you think Hunter Yurachek on the committee should be advocating the most for?
Well, you say, would you like to be on the committee? The answer is yes, because apparently the qualifications are nothing. It takes no brains or any sense of common sense or football knowledge to be on this committee because the decisions they made throughout the year. I mean, why even play a tough schedule? I mean, they have said all year basically all they care about is wins over losses. So, if you're undefeated but you played nobody, you're going to get a ringing endorsement ahead of somebody who played a brutally tough schedule and ran into a couple losses because they don't even know what strength of schedule is. They won't even bring it up in the room, which is absolutely stupid because when you look at the qualifications of the college football playoff, the number 1 bullet point is strength of schedule is supposed to be a determining factor. But I digress. I do agree with you. I think the decision is pretty easy here. If Clemson wins and it's them and SMU in, I think that makes this decision a lot easier. If not, that does open the door. And look, I'm an SEC guy through and through, but let's be real. This Alabama team does not deserve a playoff spot at all. I mean, we are not even 2 weeks removed from me watching them not being able to score a touchdown on the road at Oklahoma, lose 24-3, and that same Oklahoma go into Baton Rouge this past weekend and get absolutely thrashed. So I would not put this Alabama team in. And if you're an Alabama fan, I would tell you, do you really want to get in the playoff? Do you really want to go be embarrassed by a Notre Dame or some team that's way better than your team this year? I just don't think. I think it would be ugly. I think if anybody, Ole Miss or South Carolina deserves a chance. South Carolina's the hottest team in the country, and somebody said, well, that doesn't matter. I said, well, that's weird because it matters when we talk about the basketball tournament, right? When that selection committee gets to the room, they go, well, this team's won 6 in a row. They're red hot. They deserve to be in. Yeah, with football, we start going, well, that's not a factor. So it's a little ridiculous. But, to me personally, I'd love to see South Carolina or Ole Miss get a chance. But unfortunately, it seems like if the door opens for a team from the outside to get in, it's going to be the Bama factor just because they bring the name brand. And be real, if you're the TV network, Bama's going to bring eyeballs as opposed to some of those other ones.
And Chris, in Houston, do you have much interaction, callers, listeners, conversation with SMU people because they're making their move look like they got a cheap deal. They made it work.
Yeah, it's we don't have a ton. I mean, the funny thing is the few SMU people I know work in banking and they're really rich, and so I guess they don't have time to call in and talk with us. But I've said all along. I mean, they're the original OG of boosters. That they're if their alums are willing to write the checks, man, you were talking about a sleeping giant of a program. That if they start bringing some 4 or 5 star talent in there, they got a good coach. We already know that. They could really shake up things and really become a force in the ACC. So, yeah, man, it's kind of crazy to think about it. But somebody was saying, oh yeah, Texas, the SEC's not too hard. They walked in and won year one. Yeah, look at some of these other conferences. SMU, year one in the ACC, playing for a title. Arizona State, year one in the Big 12, they're playing for a title. So it's not just the SEC. It's you're bringing in some of these other brands that are pretty good and ready to go, and you got them all playing for conference championships.
Every conference championship game has a new member in it, don't they?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, that speaks volumes.
It does. It's incredible. So we've talked about the 2 teams in the SEC championship. We talked about the 3 teams that want a chance into the college football playoff. Let's talk about that 3rd team that feels like they're safely in to the college football playoff, Tennessee, with the freshman quarterback, Nico. It's been kind of an up and down year for him, but they've really relied on that run game, and that defense has been good all year. What have you thought of what Tennessee's done this season?
Yeah, Dylan Sampson has been awesome, man. I mean, he's far and away the leading rusher in the SEC, number 6 in the nation in rushing. Was breaking records, school records from like 1929 for most rushing touchdowns. I mean, he's been a force for them, and it honestly is allowed to take some pressure off of Nico Iamaleava because there have been games where he has not been good. Yet Tennessee has found a way to win because of the dominant run game and the dominating defense. I think their defense has been so impressive this year, and they've got some big-time playmakers. I had some big questions about their secondary coming into the year, but they've answered all that and then some, and I think they're a viable force. I mean, we'll see what kind of matchup they get, what kind of draw in the playoff, but Tennessee is absolutely a team that can make a run. And, look, even if they don't, let's say they just go one and done or they win one, lose one in this playoff, I think the foundation is laid. I mean, you give Nico a whole nother offseason with Josh Heupel to learn from his mistakes, watch film, and develop. God, you're talking about the next great Tennessee quarterback starting next year in Knoxville. So, yeah, man, I'm excited to see what they can do, and nobody's a better game day schemer than Josh Heupel. So I'm excited to see him.
The SEC teams that we know are in, Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, we're still waiting maybe for one more. I don't think it'll be 2 more. I know it won't be 2 more. Maybe one more. Can any of those teams win at all, go on this December, January run?
I mean, look, if you force me to pick one, I'm taking Georgia because they have the most depth. And that's, I think, one of the most underrated parts we're not talking about with this playoff, guys, is that you got to go win, 4 or 5 games in some situations. And I don't think some of these teams are built for that. And I know Georgia is. I mean, shoot, they've been stacking top 5 recruiting classes every year that Kirby's been there, it feels like. And, they're deep. For Georgia, if their nose tackle goes down in a game, you know what? They say next man up. I can't say that about a BYU or a Boise State. That's what's so fun about this playoff is, years past, remember when Boise State beat Oklahoma in, I think it was the Fiesta Bowl, look, anybody could sneak up on anybody in a one-off, right? You know, Utah beat Alabama years ago in the Sugar Bowl. Like, anybody could sneak up in a one-off. But can you win 4 in a row against an Alabama? Can you win 4 in a row against the Georgia? That's where the depth is really going to rise to the top. And, you know, I think that's where Georgia, okay, your starting running back goes down. Oh, that's okay. We got a true freshman, Nate Frazier. We'll just hand the ball off to him.
Yeah.
I think this is where depth is going to matter. And that's why I think, you know, I say this every year with college basketball. Look, the Cinderellas are a fun story the first weekend. But by the second weekend, I want my blue bloods. I want Duke and Kentucky and North Carolina. You know, I think that's what's going to happen here with this playoff is, yeah, some U's cute and Boise, you know, they're cute and all this. But I think, you know, when we get to the Final Four, I think you're going to see it's going to be an Oregon, an Ohio State, a Georgia. It's going to be the big dogs that have been recruiting very well, killing it in the transfer portal, and they have depth. Depth is going to be key throughout this playoff.
Talking to Chris Gordy from 790 in Houston, also the host of the Locked On SEC podcast. We learned Sam Pittman, he'll be back for 2025 at Arkansas. Obviously, before the season, was on the hot seat. Then, you know, last couple of weeks, there was the idea of maybe he retires, leaves, and that was going to be the way out. But now we know he'll be back for 2025. What do you make of that decision?
Honestly, pretty shocking because everything I've heard down the backstretch of the season was that Sam Pittman was leading towards retirement. That, you know, he's got his lake house, you know, his house in the Ozarks. He's got, you know, he's been battling this hip thing all year, knowing that he was going to have hip surgery. And, you know, he's getting up there in age. It just kind of might be time to just kind of walk away and turn the page on this thing. But I think him getting the 6 wins this year, getting the back to bowl eligibility, I think kind of lit a fuse back under him, made him hungry again, and said, you know what, I'm not walking away. Let's do this again. I'm just worried, guys. You go look at that Arkansas schedule next year. It is absolutely brutal, including a game against Memphis. You know, I think it's in Memphis. Wouldn't just pencil a W in it for that one. It's unfortunate because I think what's going to happen is they're going to go 4-8 next year. He's going to get fired next year. And we'll all look back and go, well, that was a little bit of a waste of time. When, you know, I've heard there have been huge rumblings with the UNLV head coach, you know, about possibly, you know, sliding him back in there. Of course, he was a defensive coordinator prior, but I don't know, man. It just seems odd because everything I heard was that this was going to be it for Pittman. But him coming back, I'll tell you this, Arkansas fans, a lot of them are not happy with the idea of him coming back.
With the proviso of it's very, very, very early. But, Chris, I look at the Western Conference standings in the NBA, and I see Houston as a 2 seed and Memphis as a 3 seed. Stunning, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought you guys wanted me to come on and just talk about how much better the Rockets are than the Grizzlies in basketball. But
you know it.
No, it's been fun, man. I mean, this young core that, you know, they tore the whole thing down in the wake of the James Harden move to kind of rebuild, and they've loaded up with talent, and it's all starting to come together. And you know, they took a chance at free agency prior last year and went and got Dylan Brooks and went and got Fred VanVleet. And, man, those guys have been the foundation of the culture of this team with toughness under Ime Udoka. It's been a lot of fun, man. I knew they'd be improved and better this year. I didn't think they'd be this good. It's very early, to your point. We'll see if they can sustain, but this has been a lot of fun. And that win against OKC last night from Şengün and Dylan Brooks saying, You punch us in the mouth, we're going to punch you right back, and we're not going to take it. You just love to see it because it reminds me of some of those old school Memphis, you know, grit and grind teams.
Yeah, Şengün, such a fun player to watch. I love. I tune in just to watch him play basketball. You mentioned wanting to come talk, or us wanting you to come talk about Houston. What I didn't want you to come on and talk about is how much better the Houston Texans are than my Dallas Cowboys. That's a fun team to watch, especially with the young C.J. Stroud.
Well, the good news is you don't have to really do much to be better than the Cowboys.
Well, yeah,
so,
unfortunately.
But no, I mean, we're a little bit disappointed with the Texans right now. I mean, we thought this team was going to be, you know, a 10, 11 win team, top 2 seed in the AFC. They beat Buffalo earlier this year, so you got the head-to-head with them, and we kind of thought it was going to be between the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Texans for, you know, top seed in the AFC. But C.J. Stroud has had a little bit of a sophomore slump. The offensive play calling hadn't been great. You know, look at just yesterday. I mean, they jump out to a big lead on Jacksonville going to the fourth quarter, and then they got to hold on for dear life because the defense gives up 2 scores late. Yeah. So, you know, it hasn't been a complete, you know, they haven't put the whole puzzle piece together this year. They're still in a great spot, but my gosh, after this bye week, they get the Dolphins, the Chiefs, and the Ravens on, you know, on Christmas. this is a brutal stretch that will tell us what this team is, because if they lose all three of these, my God, you're talking about having to beat the Titans in the last week of the season to fend off the Colts, who I think are going to be nipping at their heels in the AFC South at that point.
Chris, I think most of it, I know you'll know more, I think most of it's injuries to his receiving core. But C.J. Stroud, he hadn't taken steps backwards. It just wasn't the step forward this year off that big year last year. And I don't think he should be overly dissected about it. But what do you think the reason is? It maybe not the sophomore year we were expecting.
Big thing's been offensive line. They have not been good, and we just thought this was going to be a strength this year, that they were fully healthy. But Laremy Tunsil, for being the All-Pro that he is, has been disappointing. Shaq Mason at guard has been disappointing. Titus Howard. It's funny. Yeah, last year they were all injured. It was like, oh my God, we're piecemealing this thing together, and they made it work. This year you got the whole offensive line healthy, but they're just not good. They're getting their butts beat. So C.J. Stroud has less time to throw back there, and he's having forced throws and all this. The one saving grace has been Joe Mixon. He's been a godsend. The big topic here was before the season, is Joe Mixon still a top 10 running back? He has answered that emphatically. Yes, I am. So that's been really good. The Daniil Hunter opposite Will Anderson on the D-line has been a lot of fun to watch. But, it's just finding that consistency on the offensive line and give it to C.J. Stroud time, which they have consistently not done this year.
Yeah. No, well, we'll see what they can do. But you're right. That stretch after the bye week, good Lord, that is not an easy road. But, Chris, as always, thanks so much for joining us. And let's do this again soon.
Yeah, let's do it again, and we'll talk more about how the Cowboys stink.
Yes. My favorite topic right now.
We will, Chris. Thanks, man. Happy holidays.
Thanks, guys. You too.
Thank you. Chris Gordy, love to visit with him. And we will on all these subjects. He's so very good on. Do you think anybody from the SEC left out is getting robbed?
No. I mean, we've talked about it.
No.
I think, and
you've had since August to make your case,
and you've laid out good reasons for all of them. I think the only, I don't even can say that, but you look at them. Alabama, you cannot lose. I know it's a road game, but you can't lose to Oklahoma and think that you should still be in. Ole Miss, you can't lose at home to Kentucky and then at the end of the season think that you should still be in. I mean, you can clearly point to all of these teams and kind of the flaws of their schedule and say, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be in over this other team. But you knew that argument was going to be there. I mean, Brett, we talked about it before the season that there was going to be a couple SEC teams that were left out, and there was going to be an argument, and it was going to be loud from that fan base of we should have been in and we got robbed from the committee. We knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, but it falls on very, very deaf ears for me. I said it about 2:50 on the day that occurred, 2:50 p.m. on the day it occurred, and on Ole Miss postgame on the Ole Miss Network. It was the single worst Ole Miss home SEC loss ever. Yeah, and because I knew what it was predictive of. I knew if you lost at home to Kentucky, at least one more, maybe two more toe stubbers in there. For Alabama to lose late in the year, after you had really kind of washed off the Vanderbilt loss, you can understand at UT, at Knoxville, third Saturday, and then you go and lose to the worst Oklahoma team since a John Blake Oklahoma team. Well, then that's back of the line to me. And for South Carolina, you lose to both of those other teams in the back of the line with you and to LSU.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
and now you're even hearing from South Carolina, well, but the referees said the
that.
loser 100% of the time.
I love that. That's great. Wow. Yeah, I mean, but South Carolina, I think, is gonna be the loudest, if I had to guess, of these three fan bases. But I just, I think there are reasons they'll be left out. Well, because I think their quote-unquote losses are ones that I think they can try to argue if they're not that bad of losses.
Now they're talking about Lenore Sellers and Rocket Sanders were hurt the day of the Ole Miss game.
Yeah.
Can I tell them about Trey Harris missing half the year?
It's a good one. I mean,
Can I tell them about Jackson Dart from the third play of the game against Georgia? His ankle shredded the rest of the year. I've seen it. It would make you want to throw up.
Yeah, no. Just hearing about it makes me want to throw up. I couldn't imagine seeing
cry me a river, South Carolina. I know you're the consummate little brother to Clemson, and you they've picked you up by your head all these years and toyed with you, but you're getting on everybody's nerves.
Well, we'll see tomorrow night what the bracket looks like and how much change there will be from what we see tomorrow night in the official bracket, because I think this will be pretty close to what we see on Sunday.
And that's another reason I think the flag planting. I don't know that Clemson tried to do that, did they? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't think South Carolina tried to do that at Clemson. They didn't try flag planting, did they?
I don't think so, but there was a lot of flag planting going on Saturday. So
tell me why in the world Arkansas and Missouri was fighting. Missouri's at home.
Yeah.
They can put the flag up over the press box if they want to.
Do whatever they want. You're at home. No, it was everybody was a little heated on Saturday.
Way too much of the defeated getting tell the winner how to act.
Yes. No, I had no problem with the flag planting. You went on the road against your rival, go crazy.
And you're not really planting it in an artificial turf field.
No. It's just what it represents. Yes. Yeah. But no, it's
now I did see South Carolina lead that chicken out there for him to use the restroom on the midfield logo. Yeah.
Better. That might be better than planting flags. I don't know.
Oh, in 2008, Bryant, Houston Nutt's first game back to Fayetteville.
Okay.
Wild game, wild finish, controversial call. Ole Miss narrowly won. And it wasn't quite the phenomenon of pictures and video is now on Twitter, but everybody in the Arkansas world just convinced that Houston Nutt's son, Houston Nutt III, that he went out and stomped on the logo at midfield. I can categorically tell you it did not happen.
It's awesome.
But just were convinced that he did it.
But it's become like lore that he did it.
And he did not.
That's great. Well, yes, that was way before social media was big.
Imagine that. The defeated wants to be censored.
Yes. That happens. It's a tale as old as time, Brett. Happens pretty much every weekend. But let's go ahead and get to a break, because when we come back, we've got to look at what happened in the SEC. It'll be time for our Sissy's Log Cap and look back at the weekend in the SEC.
Sports fans out there, Walker Taylor here with the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and I would like to thank our fantastic customers and especially our loyal staff. Time has flown by. We now have a second location, Poplar and Houston Levy in Collierville. Catering is a specialty of ours. 50 to 5,000, no job too small, no job too big. Full service or self-service. We also have a party room in Collierville that is great for rehearsal dinners, business meetings, you name it, we'd love to have you. Also, our barbecue party packs start at $8.75 a person. Barbecue, beans, slaw, bun sauce, including serving utensils. Especially great for tailgating with football season coming up. The commissary restaurants also believe in giving back to the community. Possibly you have been approached by somebody selling a barbecue 6-pack coupon for fundraising. Cheerleading groups, church groups, anything to help a worthy cause. Holidays are near. Smoked hams and smoked turkeys will be on the pit before you know it. Come see us at Germantown and Collierville Commissary. Also check us out at commissarybarbecue.com.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five-Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
Wait, here she comes. Surprise!
your accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
Small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your favorite employee is leaving. They're going to pursue their dream of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Good afternoon. Still trying to clean up a couple of ranks we had earlier. It has tried its best to build now in the Midtown area with a little bit of volume southbound on 240 here from Union all the way down to Norris, passing South Parkway. Traffic still looks good over here on I-40 eastbound at Warford, Hollywood, continuing I-40 all the way over to White Station. Shop now and save during this holiday season where Weimer's Jewelry, located at 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time for a look back at the weekend in the SEC. Brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies with 9,000 square foot in Laurelwood. Let's go inside the SEC with Bryant and Brett.
Chad Kelly in the gun formation. 3rd and inches for Ole Miss.
Carlton will kick it. It is on the way, and it is up.
Buck Bellew looking at it, going to pitch it to Herschel Walker, try to get him outside. He's going to get 5.
The snap is high. Kelly grabs it, wants to throw, fires it up in the air. Treadwell can't get it.
It is good! Oh, my!
Get it. Deflection is caught. Deflection is caught. And down the sidelines is Adebayo. He's to the end zone. He's in there. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
He's got 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. He needs a block. There goes Herschel. There goes Herschel.
And you can wrap this one in maroon and white, my friends.
Arkansas is headed to Atlanta.
The national champion is clad in big orange.
And I'll just remind people that John Ward cut that bite of his closing with Tennessee winning the national championship. That was in his final year as the voice of the Tennessee Vols, as the play-by-play guy, and was with a first-year starting quarterback with T. Martin. This year, Bob Kessling, in his final year as voice of the Big Orange, with a first-year starting quarterback in Nico.
Interesting.
Huh?
Stars aligning.
You like that? It got started Friday, where game where I was in Oxford, the battle for the golden egg. Ole Miss wins its 3rd straight over Mississippi State. That's not right. They win their 2nd straight over Mississippi State, but 4 out of the last 5, 26-14 over the Bullies. Ulysses Bentley, 136 and a touchdown, 89-yard touchdown run. That's the 4th longest in Ole Miss football history. 39 yards rushing for State. They really struggled on the ground. I thought their young quarterback played well, played really hard too. Ole Miss 9-3 bowl bound. No playoffs, probably going to either Tampa or to the Gator Bowl. Mississippi State 0-8 in the SEC, 2-10 in Jeff Lebby's first year. They got to go recruit and get their collective right.
Yeah, and I think they likely will. But we saw this type of game kind of play out a couple times in SEC play, where rivalry game and both teams look good. Maybe the team that the underdog comes out really hitting their stride early, and then ultimately the better team ends up winning. That's what we saw in this game. Early, Mississippi State kind of punches them in the mouth. Ole Miss responds and looks good. The rest of the game, Ulysses Bentley played really well. But like Michael Van Buren, I thought played really, really hard, looked good in that game. But you're right. I mean, this has got to be a big offseason for them. Recruiting, transfer portal, they got to get more talented guys.
It's not just be done in one, but it's got to be.
But
this one's got to.
It's got to get it started. Yeah.
Friday night in one of the wilder games of the year, Georgia wins 44-42 in 8 overtimes between the hedges. It was 17-0 at halftime. It was 17-6 at the end of the third quarter. Engineers really controlling the game, but here comes Georgia. Carson Beck, 5 touchdowns passing, 297 yards, as Chris Gordy said, 0 interceptions. That's big for everybody, but real big for him. He couldn't have afforded one. Dominique Lovett, 2 touchdowns receiving. Tech outpass and outrush Georgia, 972 yards combined in a 4-hour-plus thriller. Georgia advances to their 7th out of 8 years SEC championship game. They'll play Texas in the rematch.
Yeah, wild one. I mean, Georgia Tech comes out and looks like they're just going to walk away with a massive victory. But then, like you mentioned, 21 points in the fourth quarter, and then we start overtime. 1 OT shy of tying the record for most overtimes. And ultimately, the better team wins. Georgia is able to convert. They run the ball. Everyone, Twitter was lighting up of, can someone just run the ball? Just try running it instead. And Georgia ultimately did. And got
the defenses are they're zombies.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know any playoff structure that helps for the defense. Even the NFL version, the college version, even high school. Does high school still put it on the 10-yard line and both teams get a crack?
I think so, but
the defensive players have no chance in overtime. They're exhausted.
It's so tough for them, and it was kind of tough for the offenses in most of those overtimes.
And then most offenses only have about 2 or 3 go-to 2-point plays.
Yep.
You just can't spend a whole lot of time coming up with 7 or 8 2-point conversion plays.
In a game like this where you have 5 2-point tries because you go to 8 overtimes.
The bucket's empty. You got nothing left.
You're just throwing stuff. You're throwing darts at that point.
Okay, I know we're not going back to ties. I know that. And we're sure not with playoffs and in bowls now and it being like the NFL. But we got to come up with a better overtime. Tennessee, they win 36-23. First game of the day on Saturday at Vandy. Vandy returned the opening kickoff. Guy was untouched. Then got an early fumble recovery. Scored quickly, 14-zip. And everybody needing Tennessee to lose, including me, we were all excited. And then Tennessee may have played its best football maybe back since the former years. That second, third, and fourth quarter, they looked great. Dylan Sampson, 178 yards rushing. Nico, 4 touchdowns. Tight end, Miles Kitzelman, talking about making a lot of money. He did Saturday. He has all year. And the Diego magic ended in the Texas loss, really, for Vanderbilt. He's been pretty predictable since then. And I don't know how he managed to do this year, Bryant, but as the year wore on, I think it's the hits. Diego got slower.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you're right. I think it's those hits start piling up, and you talk about being hurt and being injured, and I think he wasn't really injured, but he was probably hurting back there taking all those hits. And it catches up to you. But no, I mean, what a start for Vanderbilt. Very exciting at home in Nashville, but then ultimately, again, the better team ended up winning, and they looked like a really dominant team second quarter on, and very impressed with how Tennessee played.
Tennessee 10-2 and in the playoffs, 6-2 in the league. Vandy 6-6, 3-5 in the league, going bowling somewhere. South Carolina, they win 17-14 at the other Death Valley. Lenore Sellers, 20-yard touchdown run with 1:08 to play that TD may very well be the biggest play in South Carolina football history. He will easily enter next year as the number one quarterback in the SEC. He had 164 passing, 166 rushing, 2 touchdowns, and 6 straight wins for the red-hot Gamecocks. Demetrius Knight, his interception of Cade Klubnik sealed it for South Carolina. South Carolina awaiting the college football playoff brackets on Sunday morning and having amnesia that it lost at Bama and by 24 at home to Ole Miss.
Yeah, Lenore Sellers has been really fun to watch down the stretch. He has taken that jump, early in the season. We were kind of talking about he shows those flashes, but, maybe too young, too raw right now. But this second half of the season has been really dominant. He's going to be the quarterback next year in the SEC. But, that 1-2 punch of him at quarterback, Rocket Sanders at running back, it's really worked for them this year. And like you said, they're going to be waiting, fingers crossed, Sunday morning, and we'll see how it plays out.
The Governor's Cup in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, all U of L, 41-14 over Kentucky. 5 Big Blue Nation turnovers, 0 for 7 on third down. Cutter Boley, what a stage name. Cutter Boley getting the nod at quarterback. He wasn't very good in place of Brock Vandegrift. He had 48 yards passing before he was pulled. Ole Miss, you wonder why you're not in the playoffs? You lost to a 1-7 in SEC Kentucky.
Yeah, this is going to be a year that Kentucky wants to forget quickly because it just from start of the year on. That game, what was it? Southern Miss first game of the season that they couldn't even finish because of
that's right.
of the storm,
the monsoon season.
Maybe that was foreshadowing what the year would be for Kentucky because they game of the year was against Ole Miss, and since then we've talked about it a lot, just have not been able to do anything, and certainly in their biggest game of the year, their rivalry game, just completely dominated from start to finish.
It burnt my retina out watching the last minutes of the Ole Miss-Kentucky game.
It's just bad.
I've been visually impaired ever since. Iron Bowl, Bama 28-14 over Auburn. Last Auburn win at Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium was 2010. Jalen Milroe passed for 256, ran for 104. And Bama with that big brand. Remember, the College Football Playoff Committee is revealing a month-long TV show on Sunday morning. Like it or not, they are doing that. 5 straight for Bama over Auburn. The voodoo is died for Auburn against Alabama. It died with Bryce Young in overtime in 2021 and was buried for good last year with the 4th and 31 play. Bama held Auburn to 98 yards rushing. How do you do that with the good running back that they have in Jarquez Hunter?
Yeah, well, that's the big thing is when you have Jarquez Hunter, just hand it off to him. Just run the ball. He carried the ball 13 times, in that type of game.
But
feels like you would want
ask
to run
Peyton
more.
Thorne to do it.
Yeah, you get Peyton Thorne to throw the ball around. I don't love that. I would way rather give it to Jarquez Hunter and let him work. But no, on the other side, Alabama, Jalen Milroe played well, 256 yards passing, over 100 yards rushing. That's the type of game you want to see from Milroe.
Missouri 28-21 over Arkansas in the Aleutians at Ice Station 0. Brady Cook 30-yard touchdown run late. 3 Arkansas fumbles, 3 TDs, though, for Arkansas running back Jaquindon Jackson. 2 for Mizzou's Marcus Carroll. Arkansas 6-6 and 3-5 in the league. Missouri 20 wins the last 2 years, 9-3 this year, 5-3 in the league for Eli Drinkwitz.
Yeah, the snow game. It was fun to watch with that playing surface, but ultimately, again, the better team won. It was a close game. Thought both teams looked good at times, but Missouri gets the win, and I think they wanted more this season. But hey, a 9-win season for Missouri, you'll take it, I guess.
Looked like a miserable game to sit in a suite.
Yeah, yes, but watching it on TV, sitting in the comfort of your own home is fun to watch.
Florida 31-11 over FSU, recovered 5 FSU fumbles, but never fear, Gus Malzahn on the way to Tallahassee. and guess who? Guess who Florida State opens the 2025 season against? Any guesses?
Oh, geez. Is it UCF?
Oh, Gus plays against Bama. You think they fear him at all? He'll break out the double bubble, though, won't he?
Yes, he will.
Montrell Johnson, 99 yards rushing for the Gators. LSU 37-17 over Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma, we're ready for the SEC. Nobody believed you last summer, and now they really don't. Went 2-6 in the league, stole one at Auburn, and wrecked Bama's year in winning at Norman. 3 TDs for Garrett Nussmeier, and a big decision for him. Will he return to LSU next year?
Yeah, it's a really good question for them, and we'll see, but a good win to finish the year for them over OU. OU 6-6, but in SEC play just never felt like they were there. They did get the big win over Alabama, but just did not feel like they were up for the battle.
Texas 17-7 at A&M. Texas D-line feasted on Marcel Reed. Arch Manning got the scoring started for the Longhorns with the touchdown run 243 rushing for Texas. Both lines of scrimmage, they were dominating, really bookended for A&M. Game day, opening weekend, and closing weekend, and both of the games looked the same. Notre Dame domination and Texas domination.
Yeah, I mean, this game was only a 10-point game with the final score, but it never felt like A&M was in it. It felt like it was all Texas all night long. So a good win for them. We'll see how they, what they can do against Georgia. First game against Georgia for them was all Bulldogs. Maybe something changes in the SEC championship.
That's our look back at the weekend in the SEC, brought to you every Monday at 4:30 by Sissy's Log Cabin, the Mid-South's largest selection of one-of-a-kind jewelry. They have it. Engagement rings, wedding rings, necklaces, earrings. The official jeweler of the hometown Memphis Grizzlies, big supporter and sponsor of Tigers athletics since 1970. With all the locations across the Mid-South, Sissy's offers a selection of diamonds, estate jewelry, and fine gifts. Official jeweler for the Grizzlies and at FedEx Forum with the Floor Seat Lounge. Unsurpassed value, exceptional service, expansive selection, and an extraordinary shopping experience, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Let's get to another break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? We have it covered at Humdingers. It's quick, it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. Many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdingers, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdingers offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
High-energy, full-body workout that utilizes the same equipment and technology employed by Floyd Mayweather to achieve his impressive 50-0 record. The workout features 4 types of heavy bags, treadmills, rollers, battle ropes, weights, and much more. Visit Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, located at 2257 North Germantown Parkway in Cordova. Train like a champ. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness. 901-673-1267.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, board-certified urologist and senior vice president of men's sexual health at HIMSS. I've helped many guys with ED in my 12 years of practice. But now you can get world-class care for ED 100% online by going to HIMSS.com. So what are you waiting for?
To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% off brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixer. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again because you need the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels. Just the good stuff. Just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, 80 proof, crafted and savored responsibly.
Rich Eisen here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. We wrap up Week 13 of the NFL season with an AFC battle between the Browns and the Broncos. Both are coming off divisional wins, and Denver, led by star rookie quarterback Bo Nix, hopes to pick up its 3rd straight win. Kevin Harlan and Hall of Famer Kurt Warner have the call from the Mile High City on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food, no matter what you're craving. From 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings. Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, Brett, my big number today is the number 7. We've talked about it a lot today. Tiger basketball in the AP Top 25 at number 16. Tiger football also in the AP Top 25 as well. So the Tigers are one of 7 teams in the country ranked in both the football and basketball AP polls. They join Tennessee, Iowa State, Alabama, Oregon, Illinois, and Ole Miss as the 6 other schools ranked in both the football and basketball AP polls. And you listen to those brands, I mean, those are really dominant brands, and all of them Power 4 programs. But Memphis joins them. It just kind of shows the type of role that Tiger Athletics is on right now.
December 28th, FedEx Forum, Tigers and Ole Miss. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Really good one.
That might be a seed line game.
That
game itself.
Could be.
Your big number was 7. Mine's 11. That's good numbers at the crap table. 7 come 11. My number is 11. 2 years in on the job on the Plains for Coach Hugh Freeze, and he's 11 wins. 11-14. 0-2 in Iron Bowls. 5-11 in SEC games. And 14th out of 16 in the SEC standings. You look at the SEC standings, end of the year, only Kentucky and Mississippi State looking up at Auburn. But Cruton's going great.
I was just about to say, Brett, we're not worried about right now. It's the
5
future.
stars everywhere.
Yes.
Cruton.
Yes, they're flipping everybody, Brett. Haven't you been paying attention?
Keep trying to sell that.
Yeah, you can only sell that for so long until results start mattering.
And I looked, where Auburn opening day next year is somewhere pretty good. I can't remember it now, but it will make for a big year for him.
Wow, let's see. I've got it pulled up here at Baylor.
Wow, at Baylor.
That's pretty good.
Dave Aranda and Hugh Freeze.
I mean, that would be a big game. It certainly would start things off well, but if you lose on the road at Baylor.
It'd be nice and hot in Waco that day.
Sure would be. Saturday.
Be even hotter if Freeze starts 0-1.
I was about to say, it's the game that you're not going to want to lose, and now I guess they'll be
only get to play it one time. They'll get to play it 9 times.
Well, that's the thing, Brett. I mean, if they play him 9 times or 10 times, they'd win 9 out of 10 times.
That, if and should and could, maybe.
Only counts for so much. But it's going to be, it's going to be a big off season for them. I mean, they've got a lot of questions to answer, the big one being at the quarterback position.
And you look at rivals right now, and I think there are 2 or 3 nationally, Auburn. And right now, Ole Miss is like 13th or 14th at rivals. But that goes out to 10th in the SEC.
Wow, really?
It's why I beg Tiger fans, at rivals right now, I think the Tigers are in the 60s somewhere. More importantly, look where they are in the AAC. That's who you play against. That's the league you got to win.
Wow, Brett, I'm looking at it right now. This is crazy. I mean, it is like every SEC school in the top 15.
I mean, Ole Miss, you can go, hey, we're 14th.
Yeah.
Where are you in SEC?
Well, that's the thing. So right now, on Rivals, 2025 team rankings for recruiting, Ole Miss is 15th, which that's great. Top 15 recruiting class. SEC, just SEC teams in front of them. Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Florida, LSU, Texas, Auburn, Alabama, Georgia. 9 SEC teams in front of you. 10th.
Is it 9?
Not one. They're 10th. That's 9 in front of them.
I got you.
So, that's insane. But,
National Signing Day Wednesday.
Sure. But for Lane Kiffin, he works in the transfer portal. I mean, that's his bread and butter.
He's really quietly done both, and you have to do both.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at a guy like Centarian Perkins. That was old-fashioned recruiting.
Yeah.
And there have been others. And I think you'll see that go up a little more,
Sure.
And it's a really good year in state, and he's having a good year.
Yeah, it's a really good year, and I think that's the thing that for Lane Kiffin is that, if you can finish top 15 in recruiting, but then also top 10 as well in transfer portal, that's the mix you want, and that's kind of what he's done the last couple of years.
Being the top in both.
Yeah, and that's what you want is that good mix of guys that you can develop, and maybe they play a role early, maybe they don't, but also getting those guys that kind of plug and play immediately from the transfer portal. But it's that time of year now where transfer portal is here and recruiting's getting wrapped up for these high school guys, and so the offseason for a lot of teams really begins. But let's go ahead and wrap up this second hour, get to another break, and when we come back, we're switching gears. The Grizzlies, another win for them yesterday, a game where they trailed early. It looked like maybe, okay, it's been fun, this win streak, but you lose to the Pacers. But no. They bounce back after struggling in the first quarter, get a convincing win over the Pacers. So when we come back, we're talking Grizzlies with Michael Cole.
Let me guess, you're going to recommend that everyone get their holiday meal from Central Barbecue.
No, although it's a great idea, get everybody some fantastic Central Barbecue and not have to do any of the work, but that is not what this spot is about.
It's not?
No, this is about another way Central Barbecue can save you time and trouble.
Ah, Central Barbecue gift cards.
That's right. You don't have to fight the holiday gift shoppers when you can just go online and order up a handful of Central Barbecue gift cards.
No one has ever turned up their nose at getting the best barbecue in Memphis.
In the world.
In the world for free.
Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has inventory that got to move because you know what season is coming up. So why wait? You can complete your ultimate game room with a new pool table, a new shuffleboard, new arcade games, or just get all of them. Tons and tons of theater seating, overstocked, and priced to move. 'Tis the season for fire pits, and all fire pits at Family Leisure are 20 to 30% off. You say you didn't get a spa this year? I'll say no more. Spas are in stock and they're ready for delivery and up to $1,500 off. These are just a few of the deals happening right now for a very limited time. So come on, check out the gigantic showroom. You never know what kind of deal you're going to find at Family Leisure. Win Road and I-40, where family and fun come together. Jenkins Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
The 2025 Range Rover Sport sits right at the heart of the Land Rover lineup, offering a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility. Smaller and more agile than a full-size Range Rover, it's a great option for everyone who wants luxury and practicality. Every model comes with 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive standard. Whether you navigate city streets or tackle rough terrain, Range Rover Sport has you covered. Every drive is powerful and breathtaking. The 2025 Range Rover Sport is the epitome of sporty luxury. Test drive one at Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City.
Sports 56, WHVQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Once again,
You say you stand by your man. Tell me something I don't understand.
I'm back in Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we start our third and final hour. And joining us now, like he does every Monday afternoon, to talk Grizzlies basketball. DeMichael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal, joins us now. DeMichael, last week when we talked to you, the Grizzlies were getting ready to start their 4-game homestand, and we asked you, what do the Grizzlies need to do? What should they do over these next 4 games? And you said they should go 4-0, and that's exactly what they did. What have you seen from this Grizzlies team over these last 4 games on this homestand?
Yeah. The thing was they had to go 4-0. They had to win them all, and not only did they do that, but pretty convincingly. Each win was by double figures. Even they came in different ways, like the last game down as many as 17 points. Even a couple games before that, the Marcus Smart sort of breakout game from the bench, from him playing a new role perspective. He came in the game, changed one game in the first half. But I think the dominance was very noteworthy because it's one thing to beat these teams that you're supposed to beat, but beating them handily sends a message that, not only are we better than what we feel like is inferior competition, but we don't play with our food, and they didn't play with their food this week.
DeMichael, last Monday, last question Brian had for you was, okay, what should the record be this next week? And you said emphatically 4-0, nailed.
Yeah, right? I mean, because everything was aligning. You look at it. You got John Morant back. You got Desmond Bain, John Morant, and Jaren Jackson Jr. on the floor together. The decision to put Jalen Wells in the starting lineup, look, Taylor Jenkins, he takes his share of criticism. But how many people out there, and some people will say, oh, yeah, I could do it. But realistically, how many people out there would go to an 11-year NBA veteran who's been to the finals, who won Defensive Player of the Year 3 years ago, and say, hey, we're going to bring you off the bench, not just in favor of, some player who also has a very accomplished resume. We're going to bring you off the bench in favor of a guy who's only played 10 games or so in the NBA at this point. Oh, and by the way, he's not some star first-round pick that, that you kind of figured was going to get this opportunity. This is a second-round pick who played D2 basketball 2 years ago. He's the guy we're going to start in front of you. So they're part of coaching, in the NBA. It's almost like, in baseball. In baseball, we don't call them coaches. We call them managers. And I think in the NBA, you have a big part of the job is managing too. In the NFL, it's more coaching because you got 50-something players you're dealing with. It's definitely more coaching, I think, in the NFL. But in basketball, it's a smaller size of people, and you're dealing with egos. And the ability of this team right now to take it in stride, Marcus Smart, all the other guys kind of around him. We talked to Desmond Bain, John Morant, Jaren, all about it. They're like, man, he's a vet. The team appreciates, the fact that he's willing to do this. And the results are showing that right now, at least, it's kind of been the right decision for them.
Yeah.
And DeMichael, I think the reason why he can have that gravitas and do it is because he has gravitas and league-wide chops, and he can go to that kind of guy.
Yeah, and that's the big part of it. Even though Marcus Smart is, quote-unquote, not starting, he's finishing. Mm-hmm. So when you go to a guy like Marcus Smart and you propose this new role for him, it's got to be something in there for him, right? You're not just going to tell Marcus, well, hey, look, you're playing 18 minutes a game now. Just make the most of it. I mean, sure, he'd probably accept it, but I think it'd be fair for him to not be happy with that because he just hadn't got a big sample size in Memphis yet. We just have not seen, a bunch of Marcus Smart. I think he's still under 40 games played a year, so he hasn't even played half a season worth of games in his tenure in Memphis. But with all that being said, it was a huge decision, and the way that you kind of ease it over is Marcus isn't starting. But look at the end of the second quarter, and look who's in the game. Look at the end of the fourth. I mean, they've all been blowouts, but the little 2 to 3 minute stretch we see them with the closing lineup when there's like 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, look who's in the game. It's Marcus Smart. Mm-hmm. It's John Morant, Desmond Bain, Marcus Smart, Santi Aldama, Jaren Jackson Jr. That's been the closing lineup as of late, and I think I posted it on X recently too. It's quote-unquote the closing lineup, but we haven't seen clutch minutes because all these games have been blowouts. Like, we still haven't seen them in a 6-point game with this lineup and, the crowd's yelling defense and one possession, could drastically shift the momentum. We haven't seen that.
Well, yesterday was something, watching that game was fun to kind of see and hear the crowd get into that because of how that game played out, where the Grizzlies are trailing. You give up 45 points in the first quarter, and then you come back, you hold Indiana to only 23 points in each the second and third quarter. Defense was huge after that first quarter, and it was Ja Morant making plays defensively, Marcus Smart making plays defensively, really the entire team. But for Ja Morant, a guy that just coming back from injury, a guy that really throughout the early parts of his career, defense has been a question mark. What can he bring to you defensively? Yeah. For him to make plays, what did you kind of see that mindset from him in that game yesterday against the Pacers?
Yeah, it's pride. Pride can be a beautiful thing sometimes. We always look at it from the downside of it, but the good side is Ja Morant doesn't want to be the only player on the floor who teams are saying we're going to pick on him every single possession. If you go back to that series, this was the real turning point for Ja Morant defensively. It was 2023 in the playoffs against the Los Angeles Lakers, and you go down the stretch of those games that were close, and you look at it. You had Ja Morant, Desmond Bane on the floor, Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., Xavier Tillman. LeBron James, every single possession of the floor in those closing minutes, would whoever offensively on the Lakers would have Ja Morant guarding them, he would just call that player over to set a screen where he could either get a switch onto Ja Morant or Ja Morant would try to hedge out and move back into his guy, and they would have an advantage. The Lakers would have an advantage in that way. So it was painfully obvious. It was so obvious to the point when Dylan Brooks was shooting terribly in that series, like wasn't making a shot, Taylor Jenkins couldn't go to Luke Kennard. He couldn't go to Luke Kennard because he didn't want to have two guys who he felt that the Lakers would have picked on the court at the same time, with the other three guys, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., Xavier Tillman, being able to at least moderately hold their own. But that's the thing. I was talking to Marcus Smart about it the other day. Marcus Smart said you can't pick on Ja anymore. You can't pick on him. Ja said at the beginning of last season, and this is why I pointed to that 2023 playoff series at the turning point, because he had the 25-game suspension and all that. But when he came back from that suspension, Ja said, I'm taking it personal this year. The defensive end, I'm taking it personal. I'm not letting guys, feel like, I can be the person that they can attack going forward. And he only played 9 games, so we never got the sample size. But I remember even in training camp when we were out there in Nashville, a big moment to me was when Taylor Jenkins said that he challenged Ja Morant and Desmond Bane to be better defensively. And he basically, in a way, kind of called them out saying, look, we need you to be better defenders in order to be the team we want to be. You guys got championship aspirations. Ja saying he want to win a championship. Desmond Bane saying he wants to win a championship. Well, guess what? In order for that to happen, you got to step up your defense. And Ja, the other day as he was talking about it, you know what he said? When I was asking him about his defense, he said, it's what needs to be done. This is what I have to do. So it's pride, and that pride leads to effort. And if you look at the measurables, Ja's only 6'2", $185 or whatever the case may be, but he put on 12 pounds, in the offseason. He put on some weight. So he says it a lot, but the NBA still has him listed, I think, at 174. He always says, I'm not 174 pounds. But he put on some weight, and you look at just the natural gift. He's a good athlete. He's smart. The steal he made against DeJounte Murray a couple games ago, when DeJounte Murray tried to go behind the back at half court, and he telegraphed it, and before the ball could even get back in front of DeJounte Murray, Ja Morant had it going the other way. It was because he used the sideline as a help defender. And using the sideline as a help defender, he knew that eventually DeJounte Murray was going to have to dribble back to the other side, and he anticipated it. So he's had plays like that defensively this year where he's combining his mind with his physical gifts, with the effort that he's putting in, the intensity that he's showing on that end. And I think you're getting, as Taylor Jenkins said, the best defense we've seen from Ja Morant in his 6 years in the league.
And this 4-game winning streak, DeMichael, it is reestablishing FedEx Forum as the home arena, as the place to play for the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies already, I think they have 9 home wins already this year. Yep. Only had 11 total last year.
And they only had 1 at this time last year. I think I think it was November 29th or November 30th. It was one of those days, but it was late November last year when they got their very first home win.
Wow.
So they picked up their ninth. Matter of fact, they picked up their ninth home win on the same day that they picked up that they picked up their first last season. So things are turning for the better around here. But yeah,
For sure.
if you think about how we remember, in those couple seasons when the Grizzlies were winning over 50 games, FedEx Forum was, a real good advantage, for them, and they wanted to be that way this season too.
Yeah, it feels like, and we were just talking a lot about Marcus Smart, and to be able to have him come off the bench and play in this role. You had Santi Aldama coming off the bench, Jake LaRavia, what he's done. It feels like the Grizzlies have one of the better bench units in the NBA.
They do, and the thing is, it's funny because you almost can make an argument that they're too deep.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not even something that felt like a conversation we would even have at the beginning of the season, because you just wanted to have enough guys out there who were good producers. But that's not really the problem right now. I think the way that I look at it, guys, is you could make an argument that the three players who are injured are rotation players. And they're already playing an 11-man rotation.
Yeah.
So you're playing 11 guys right now, and no one's playing themselves off of the floor. Everyone's playing decently good basketball that's playing right now. And then you factor in the fact that Zach Edey could be back within a week or so. Then you say, oh, okay, Gigi Jackson is starting to, do some more training things. He could be back a little bit down the road. Then you say, well, Vince Williams won't be too far behind, as well, some point in January. So when you factor in three guys who have legitimate cases as rotation players on top of the 11 that you're already playing, I mean, I'm glad that's Taylor Jenkins' job and not mine. But yeah, they're one of the deepest teams in the NBA. I think I pointed it out a couple games ago, how that depth is really benefiting them, because this isn't football. Like, I know that some people like to point to the idea like, oh, they can wear a team down over the course of 4 quarters. I don't really look at basketball like that. Like, it's not, to me, it's not like in football where, you just keep running the ball at a team, you run the ball, then eventually, in the fourth quarter, the defensive line's tired and you're gashing them. Like, the Grizzlies, the way they play, they do have the ability to be, I guess, less tired than certain teams down the stretch. But the best players are in the game in the final 4 or 5 minutes. And going across the NBA, you don't usually see the best players like with their hands on the hips in the last 4 or 5 minutes. So I think that much is a moot point to me. But the biggest takeaway for me is when you have this many players positively producing, you have the ability to have a bunch of moments in the game where you don't have, drastic drop-off. Like, there have been nights in the past, if Ja Morant didn't have it, that's going to be a long night at the office. If Jaren didn't have it, or if Jaren picks up 2 fouls, we're in trouble. But now it's like, bring Santi in there, who's averaging over 12 points, 5 rebounds, who's been one of your better playmakers off the bench as a passer, who just had a 17-rebound game. Like, bring Santi in there. He'll hold the fort until we can get Jaren back in. Or, Desmond Bane's in some foul trouble. You got Jalen Wells. You got Luke Kennard. What if Marcus Smart, is in some foul trouble, whatever the case may be. You got Jake LaRavia playing the best basketball of his career, and he's doing a lot of the things that you usually see from Marcus Smart, the dirty work type of plays, all over the floor. We see Jake LaRavia all the time in the locker room. He has all these scratches over him and whatnot. But I think that's the best part of it, that Taylor Jenkins has the ability. Now, if someone clearly doesn't have it, okay, no sweat. Go right to the next guy, and you're confident that eventually you're going to find the right option. Whereas in the past, you just got to keep throwing guys out there and say, man, look, we need you to find it. It's a little bit different now. They got a bunch of different options, and that kind of gives them the ability to have this kind of consistent style of play.
On our guest line, the Sissy Log Cabin guest line is DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal on all things Grizzlies beat. DeMichael, I can't imagine the proverbial next level for Ja Morant, but I can for these two guys. And I think we're going to approach it by the end of the year that even longtime observers, followers, fans, watchers are going to go, they did. Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson, there's another level for them, and I think they're approaching it.
Yeah, Jaren is for sure. He's all NBA to me right now, guys. He's all-star. He's all NBA, and I mean he's been the Grizzlies MVP so far this season, without a doubt. It's the two-way impact. It's the steal. It's the block. It's the isolation scoring ability, which one of my bigger questions coming into the season. Anything that was centered around the half-court offense was a question, whether it be the shooting, whether it be the ability to have guys who can go get their own basket. Jaren Jackson Jr., over the last 3 or so years of his career, has graded out as an elite-level isolation scorer. But what we're seeing right now is the volume is up. Like, it's a dominance to his game. It's a, I know you guys can't guard me, and I'm going to go get it. So he's definitely on another level right now. I was talking to Desmond Bain the other day, and it was just me and him talking, and he was just telling me about how, there are some adjustments to his game within this new offense because we're talking, as we said throughout the show, we talked about Jake LaRavia, Santi Aldama, all these different guys are stepping up. Well, naturally, since so many guys are having career years, the production's got to fall off somewhere. And Desmond Bain, has been that guy so far because Ja and Jaren's production is still pretty much on par with their, career production. But Dez has kind of been the guy, when my shots come to me, they'll come to me. He's not aggressively seeking out the shots as he did, last season when the Grizzlies needed him to be a guy who was scoring over 20 points a game and getting over 5 assists a game. Now it's more, as he said, within the flow, of this new offense. If it's Ja getting his shots, if it's Jaren getting his shot, if it's Jalen Wells, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with one night having 12 points and the next night erupting for 30. So I think what you're seeing in Dez, his numbers won't necessarily look like last year, but, his impact, I think, will still be there.
Yeah. DeMichael, I was shocked last week. I think it was the game against the Trailblazers to learn that John Morant had a viral dunk. A really good game. It was highlights all over the place for John Morant. It was his first dunk of the season. I know that he's been injured throughout the early parts of this year, but I was stunned that was his, we're in that, I guess, was late November at that point, last week in November, and that it was his first dunk of the season. Were you surprised when you saw that?
No, he's told me this. He said it last year, and a lot of this is why personally, and I'm not gonna talk about this point for too long because I don't want to sound like I'm rambling. But that's why when it comes to people talking about Taylor Jenkins' job security and things like that, like I'm not there yet. Nowhere near, because last season was such a lost season, and that was supposed to be a very big part of the progression, or just the big picture of knowing what this team could be. So this season is kind of serving as last season. Now, with that being said, getting back to your point, Ja said it last year. He said, I'm not going to be dunking as much, and that was the year he started playing with Derrick Rose. I don't think that's a coincidence, having Derrick Rose, around. We all know, there were some, kind of some factors there, with not just from the veteran standpoint, but Derrick Rose has a lot of, I've been there, and I can help you, have a longer and a better route throughout the course of your career type moment that he could educate Ja with. So, Ja said it last season. He said, I'm not going to be dunking as much. It's just, he only played 9 games last year, which is what I was talking about when I first started talking on the subject. So, we're starting to see it kind of play out. And, as long as he's finishing the way he is right now, the fancy layups, he's still finishing at a high level. He still has the floater. He's still touching the paint a lot. I don't think it'll be a big deal, but, there's going to be the moments like his teammates, I was joking with some of them about it, like Jay Huff, in a way, is kind of sad. He was like, man, I didn't get to play with Ja when he was doing all the fancy dunks and stuff like that. So, he has that fandom side to him. Yeah, there's going to be some more. Like, I know the other guys, they're still going to throw him some alley-oops every now and then, and he's going to go get them. He said he's going to lay the alley-oops up too, but when they throw him high enough, he ain't going to lay them up.
No.
DeMichael, I truly don't go to the deep recesses of the dark web on the Grizzlies. I don't, because I know people like you, and I know where to go for coverage on the Grizzlies. I can text or call you or Rob Fisher, and whatever that y'all can tell me, I think you will. Has anybody seriously suggested Taylor Jenkins is in trouble?
No, not serious.
Okay,
that's the key to it. Yeah, I think what you have sometimes, and I think this is a great fan base, and I love the fans here. And I grew up in Memphis. I'm very familiar with how it works here. But people get emotional over the course of things, and now I get it. It's the big question for me, just like it's the big question for a lot of people, is what will this team do in the playoffs? We've seen a couple 50-win seasons. Right now, we're seeing a very productive season. But you got to let things play out. What we're seeing right now is the Grizzlies are still near the top of the NBA in some of those old categories that they always have been under Taylor Jenkins. They're one of the best rebounding teams in the NBA. They're the top paint scoring team in the NBA, which has been a fixture under Taylor Jenkins. And they play at a very fast pace. Right now, top 3 in the NBA in pace. All those things have been pretty much consistent over the tenure of Taylor Jenkins. But the assist numbers are higher than they've ever been. They're leading the NBA in assists right now. In the past, there was a heavy reliance on John Morant. And I think when you get to the playoffs, we're going to see, okay, how much of this will work for the playoffs? I've had a couple people, in the league, tell me that they don't think the Grizzlies style will work in the playoffs. But, that's the big question. But until then, just enjoy the journey. You're watching some really good basketball right now. They got a game against the Mavs coming up, a streaking Mavs team that's going to be a good litmus test. Luka just got back. Kyrie didn't play in their last game, but he's been playing really terrific basketball. I mean, the Mavs are 5-1 without Luka, in part because of what Kyrie Irving, has done. So this is going to be a really good test for them. And then you get the Kings after that on Thursday. That's another good test. De'Aaron Fox has been playing really well. We know what they're capable of with that offense. And then you get the defending NBA champ. You get the Boston Celtics on Saturday. So really important games from the standpoint of, okay, you want to think about it from the standpoint, this last week they haven't played good competition or whatever the case may be. This is going to be a real good test of some of those good traits that we've seen of them develop early in the season.
Yeah, it's going to be a good test for them this week, and
good times.
Both the 2 games against the teams in the finals last year, both on the road. So add a little bit of extra on that to that test. But DeMichael, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week.
All right, take care, guys.
Thanks, DeMichael.
Thank you, DeMichael. DeMichael Cole with us from the Commercial Appeal on all things Grizzlies on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. Brian, we were getting close to the break, and I didn't really want to drag DeMichael into this on the whole playoff run, job security, etc. I have said that come playoff time, I think this is more front office than it is for the head coach. Other than a Western Conference Finals appearance, this front office should be graded by the previous regime that went to the Western Conference Finals in year 6.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And, it's, I think, a debate that you could see a lot of different sides of, right? I mean, I think you could see your side that you're saying. I think other people would take that and say, well, it's it should be more on the coach because he's the one out there, coaching. I think you could hear other people, kind of like DeMichael was saying with, in terms of Taylor Jenkins, with last year being a throwaway season with all of the injuries, maybe act like this is year 5 instead of year 6. But no, I think you're right. I think you want to start seeing them advance and win games in the playoffs. And right now, you look at what this regime has done, and it just, it's been getting to the playoffs, but it hasn't been much after that. And certainly with the core 4, you had that advancement and you had some really good times. You want to start seeing that from this group.
Mm-hmm. And really and truly, now is not the time to have that discussion. Let's enjoy 14-7.
Sure.
Now, come April and May, and we start waving towels and all the good stuff that comes with playoffs, then the bar will get raised.
Definitely, and that's the time when a lot of people will be having those discussions about this Grizzlies team and the front office as well. But it's been a fun start to the season. Now it gets heated up with what we were talking about: the road game against Dallas, back home against Sacramento, and then back on the road against Boston. It'll be a really good test. Well, let me remind you about our 5 o'clock sponsor. It's Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City, they've been the premier Jaguar dealership dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. Their talented team, they're ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, and the 2025 Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the Defender, available in multiple models to fit your needs. The Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169, or go online to jaguarbluffcity.com. But make sure you go and visit, test drive these beautiful vehicles. 6335 Wheel Cove, right there just off of Quince. Very easy to find and find that next perfect vehicle. Well, let's go ahead and get to another break, and when we come back, it'll be time for our Monday Night Football pick and preview. Denver and Cleveland tonight.
You ready?
Am I ready for
You ready?
what?
Previewing.
I'm ready to preview.
Making your picks, baby.
I want to know, can we set a line of do we get a viral soundbite from Jameis Winston tonight?
Oh, please do. By all means, put me down for the over.
Yeah, I think we get it. Anytime he's in prime time, it feels like you're going to get some sort of soundbite.
If you smell what Jameson is cooking.
Oh, I love that. That's a good one. maybe he goes with that. He is a wrestler. I mean, that's what it is.
It was because of that look he gave into the sky when he was just
off, and then he names date, time, location, opponent. It was fantastic. Well, let's get to a break. When we come back, we're talking Monday Night Football. That's next on Sports Time.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Let me guess, you're going to recommend that everyone get their holiday meal from Central Barbecue.
No, although it's a great idea, get everybody some fantastic Central Barbecue and not have to do any of the work, but that is not what this spot is about.
It's not?
No, this is about another way Central Barbecue can save you time and trouble.
Ah, Central Barbecue gift cards.
That's right. You don't have to fight the holiday gift shoppers when you can just go online and order up a handful of Central Barbecue gift cards.
No one has ever turned up their nose to getting the best barbecue in Memphis.
In the world.
In the world for free.
What a great time of year. Football, basketball, baseball, golf, and home sales. Home sales? This is Sheldon Rosengard from Box Ben Store Realtors. Why did I throw in home sales at this time of year? Because I have sold homes on the day before Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and New Year's Day. Whether it's someone transferring in through a relocation network or someone just starting their home search, homes sell all year long, just like my golf game being banned all year long. I may be called Mr. Three-Putt, but at least I'm consistent. If you or someone you know is thinking of selling, make sure and talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure I'm one of them. Find out how my highly successful strategic marketing program can get the winning score you need. Call me and find out why people often say when you want the job done, call Shell Done. 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. Go for that goal and call me. Shell Done at 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and the staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. village.
On 240 East, getting on to 385 Bill Morris Parkway going outbound. It's loading up over here pretty good now on 40 East at Sycamore View Road as you make that drive outbound there on I-40 into Fayette County. No shortage of radar out through Fayette County this afternoon. Shop now and save this holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, conveniently located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome aboard. ABC's Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football tonight, Denver and Cleveland. I think a good matchup between two teams. One team that it feels like long-term is going in the right direction with Denver, and maybe on the other side with the Browns about to look at kind of a new era of Browns football.
Yeah, and I thought Kevin Stefanski was going to do a great job there. I don't know if it's all him. I think it starts up top with the ownership.
Yeah.
But the Broncos, they're definitely in position for the seventh and final AFC playoff spot entering into December. The Browns, they've won 2 of their last 9 games, but those wins were against playoff contending Baltimore and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, that's the weird thing, right? Is they haven't looked very good this year, but you look at the 2 teams they beat, and it's 2 really good teams in the Ravens and the Steelers, and look again what the Steelers did yesterday. I mean, they just don't. Why make them an underdog at this point?
Fighting Mike Tomlin.
It's crazy. They find ways to cover every single time. But no,
Bo Nix, born in Arkadelphia, Arkansas.
That's right. Yes.
When his dad was coaching at Henderson State.
Yes, coaching the Battle of the Ravine. Oh, my favorite rivalry. In
Patrick
football.
Nix was one of the great goal line quarterback sneak guys of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was real big, had huge hands. They knew they wouldn't botch the snap. And he would kind of do that, and then they put Damian Craig in when they needed athleticism because Patrick Nix was not overly gifted with athleticism.
Everyone's gifted with different things.
That's right.
His is not the athleticism.
Bo Nix been named NFL Rookie of the Week 3 consecutive weeks.
Wow.
He's thrown for at least 200 yards and 2 touchdowns without an interception in his last 3 games, which is tied for the longest streak by a rookie since the AFL-NFL merger in 1970. You know, that's where we really begin time now, is after the merger.
Yes.
All that other stuff really didn't matter.
Yes,
I can't stand that.
That's with the NFL, and then with baseball, it's the modern era that started in, like, 1850. No, it's like 1909. It's crazy.
Where's the NBA demarcation, or do they do it? Is it kind of bird magic?
I think it's when the draft, right? Draft era. The first draft that, the first lottery draft.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, but you're right. You always hear with NFL, there's a set kind of time. Baseball, there's a set time. You don't really hear it with.
That's the only one I've ever heard from NBA. I've heard since the lottery draft era.
Interesting.
Not necessarily draft.
I don't like how the NFL does it. It's almost like you're not supposed to remember those years.
Yeah, that's a good point. But
and eventually, there's not going to be anybody around to remember them.
That's true. Yeah.
The Browns 4-14 all time at Denver. They won in 70 and in 72, but 2-14 since.
Interesting.
Kevin Stefanski said he doesn't put much stock in it.
Okay.
If I had that record, I wouldn't put much stock in it either.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We were talking earlier about, when you lose in the rivalry games and stuff like that. That's the thing. When you have records that are in your favor, you love to throw them out there. But when they're against you, that doesn't matter. I mean, we're a different team, and the past doesn't dictate who we are.
You guys are so correct, because the Niners have the same information on them as the Dolphins do when they play in cold weather. But nobody brought that up. Like, as we play in hot weather.
They really don't. They really don't.
But we lose them all every time it snows.
Speaking of records, this weekend in the NFL, Connor 8-1. Wow. He takes Cleveland tonight plus the 6.5. Denver minus 6.5. Darian was 7-2. Bryant was 6-3. And I've been good in the NFL this year, but only 4-5 this weekend.
Only 4-5. It's a lot of bettors would take 4-5 in a weekend in the NFL.
Going into the weekend, I was 49-32 for the year in the NFL.
Wow.
.604. I've never been .6 anything NFL.
Good. I would take that any day of the week.
Took a big hit this week. Darian, who's your pick tonight?
I am going to go with Denver.
I'm doing the same.
I'm going to go with Denver. I'm going to give it's 6, right? Not in a half, right? 6?
No, we always at a half.
Okay.
We never push.
Okay. All right. 6.5. I'm giving.
Never push. Never any pluses or minuses on grades.
Nope.
Next Monday, Brian, at 4 o'clock. No guest. Next Monday at 4 o'clock. The complete grading of the whole year in college football. SEC, AAC, coaches.
I love it.
Spiking, planting flags, everything next Monday.
I'll bring a flag in here and I'll plant it when need be. I don't know what the flag will be, but it will be.
Oh, no, it'll be a Sports 56 flag. I brought that up to John Harden. Okay. I said, let's go to another sports radio station, just plant our Sports 56 flag on the lawn. Right.
Have a big ball.
Sounds like great content, honestly.
Bryant?
Yeah, I was about to say, I guess now time for my pick. I'm going to go with Connor. I mean, how in the world could you bet against Jameis Winston in a prime-time game? He's built for two things, prime-time football and prime-time
Don't say that. Oh, you are right. You are so right.
He is fantastic in these spots. I'll take them against a rookie quarterback on a Monday night. I will take him to cover that 6.5.
Brian, we needle you a lot about your Cowboys. Yes. I thought Chris Gordy went in pretty deep on your Cowboys.
I mean, well, I understand it. In Texas.
Okay, I understand.
Sure he comes around. I'm sure he comes around obnoxious Cowboy fans all the time. So look, I am not responsible for anything that Dallas Cowboy fans in the state of Texas do or say. I am a Cowboy fan in Memphis. They're different down there. So you know what? It did not bother me.
Okay.
It did not surprise me in the slightest.
All right, the big four combined, the running backs. Doesn't it all start with Jim Brown? This is so easy.
Maybe the easiest number one of any ranking.
Retired at 29. He had easy 5 more years in him. Retired with 12,312 yards. That was in 118 games. Only 1-3 all time in playoffs.
Wow. What a career, but that playoff.
Number 2 for me, Terrell Davis, retired with 7,607 yards in 78 games, and we know he was MVP of a Super Bowl. In fact, the last running back to be MVP of a Super Bowl. The 97 season, 98 Super Bowl against the Green Bay Packers. Number 3 for me, Leroy Kelly. His son, and Leroy Kelly had the tough job of going in behind Jim Brown, and he separated himself that much, 7,274 yards in 136 games. He had a son here in town that worked for the Redbirds in the early days of the Redbirds and did their games and was great to be around. Number 3 for me, Leroy Kelly. Number 4, Floyd Little. 0 playoff games for Floyd Little, though.
Wow.
Ooh, Floyd, actually.
Floyd.
From Syracuse, like Jim Brown.
Just like Jim Brown, where he also played, rugby? Didn't he play rugby as
Jim
well?
Brown was a great lacrosse player.
Lacrosse, not rugby, lacrosse.
Lacrosse?
Yeah.
Lax.
Uh-huh.
I love it.
You want me to go? I'm ready.
You
You
can
got
go.
it?
That's it.
All right, I'm going to start at number 4, and I will let you guys know I have 2 Browns and 4 Broncos. I'll explain.
Huh.
Peyton
Sounds
Hillis.
like a lot of OLIs.
Watch this. Peyton Hillis, who played for the Broncos in 08 and 09 and the Browns in 2010 and 11. But we all remember that one great year. So great that Peyton Hillis won a nationwide vote to be on the All Madden cover of 2012, beating one Michael Vick when he played for the Eagles, not the Falcons. So that's at 4. At 3, he only played 1 year, but you guys get me all the time when we go to Tampa Bay and you throw in the GOAT. So
I'm going Tony Dorsett.
I'm going Tony Dorsett for
1 year
the
endeavor.
Broncos. 1 year endeavor for the Broncos. And that was 88, by the way. Number 2, just like you, I'm rounded back in the form, Brett. 95 to 2001. A lot of people said it shouldn't have been long enough for a Hall of Fame career, but it certainly was. Terrell Davis. And number 1, I'm going to get your sucker, Mr. Jim Brown, 57 to 65.
Yeah, that's it's pretty easy. My top 4, I do have an OLI for Peyton Hillis. I mean, how could you make a running back list that involves the Browns and not have Peyton Hillis on it? Madden cover. The Madden cover that everyone, when it came out, was like, who's on the cover of that? What?
May had the best hands of any running back ever.
Oh, man, incredible. So I got to give him a shout-out. OLI, Peyton Hillis. Number 4 for me, Nick Chubb. I know maybe one off the beaten path, but people forget about how dominant Nick Chubb was with the Browns when he was doing his thing. Got to give Nick Chubb a shout-out.
I had to debate Floyd Little or Nick Chubb. I did.
I had to get Nick Chubb in there at number 4. Number 3, I do have Floyd Little, so I had both of them on my list. Floyd Little at number 3 for me. 2, Terrell Davis, and then number 1, Jim Brown. Maybe the easiest 1-2 we've had doing these rankings ever.
And for a long time, it was landslide greatest player ever in the NFL was Jim Brown. Then, along came Jerry Rice and then Tom Brady and some others. But Jim Brown, legendary.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue against what he did. And, I think any running back list you make, he's going to be
Our friend John Farless texts me, and he says, I don't know the specifics, but Jim Brown was so good at lacrosse that they changed some of the rules.
I can believe it.
Can you imagine somebody that size and that speed coming at you with that racket?
So, Brian, did you not know he played lacrosse before?
I had no clue. It's
Yes.
news to
So
me.
not only did he play, I think he was an All-American at
Wow.
that. He was an All-American at football. Thank you. I think he was All-American there as well, aside from football. So, yes.
What do they call the lacrosse racket, or is it just a racket?
I think it's just a lacrosse stick.
Okay.
Lacrosse stick.
But can you imagine him swing? I'm going
cross-checking
down.
you. Yeah,
If he's coming at me, I'm going
yeah,
down.
No, that's insane. I'm seeing pictures of him with playing lacrosse, and that does not look fun.
So you guys have any close calls? I had one close call, and that was Ernest Biner from the Browns.
Okay.
I like me some
Had the
Ernest
biggest
Biner.
fumble in Broncos history.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe
Or
remembered
in
for-
Browns history.
Oh, yeah, Browns.
Against the Broncos. Yeah. And then he got a Super Bowl with Washington or with the 49ers?
I think it was with Washington.
Yeah.
I think Biner was with Washington.
With Ripien and that crew.
Yes, sir.
This has kind of nothing to do with this conversation, but I did just learn it, and so I wanted to know if anybody else knew this. So you were talking about, what did you say, Kelly's son was around here? Is that what you were saying earlier?
Leroy Kelly's son was
So
with the Redbirds for years.
Speaking of people's sons, I just learned, and I don't know if y'all knew this, maybe I'm late to the party, Nate Robinson, the former NBA basketball player,
Yeah.
his son plays football at Colorado. I'm just now learning that, and he just entered the transfer portal. I had no idea.
Nate Robinson was a tough guy,
Sure
and I would
was.
say he might have played some football.
I think he did, but I was just scrolling through Twitter earlier, and I see Nate Robinson quote tweeting about his son, or about somebody entering the transfer portal. I was like, why is Nate Robinson commenting on someone entering the transfer portal? Come to find out, it's his son. I had no clue.
Portal's getting ready to get busy.
Well, yeah, the portal, I mean, talk about to get crazy. That is the NCAA transfer portal, and the fact that you already have some players entering the transfer portal, committing to a team, and then flipping and committing to another team, like the running back from Iowa.
And getting ready to go through bowl practice.
Yes, which is insane. But, that's college football for you. But,
2 more to toss at you before you go.
Okay.
Clinton Portis and Noshawn Marino. Where were they? Nowhere near your list?
Yeah, I didn't.
Way up there.
Especially Clinton. Noshawn was just honorable mention, so to speak.
Best years for Portis, Washington or Denver?
Whew.
And I asked that inquisitively.
Okay, I know you don't like this. I know you don't like this, Brett, but I'm gonna do it in a 2-part. For his just his own stake, Washington. The best Portis team-wise was definitely in Denver. Yeah. He helped them win.
He was the piece.
Yeah, he was he was seasoned. He was a vet. Yeah, he was that. But he was young and spry and just putting up crazy numbers in Washington.
But Terrell Davis was what John Elway always waited on to have that legitimate running back threat.
And he was incredible.
He was dangerous. I mean, that man was bad. What, 7 years Hall of Fame? Gale Sayers like.
Yeah. Sayers. I think his was 6 and change. It was the fewest.
Yeah.
But we looked this up one time. Darren, you double check it. I think Gale Sayers' games played was like 68 games in the NFL.
Really?
I mean, he was just there a brief time.
Wow. That is a lot less than I would have guessed.
You are correct. 68, right?
Unreal.
Yep. And watch this. And on top of that, he was the I think the all-time kickoff returner for the all-time team, the 100 whatnot. So the punt return was Dion, but the kickoff returner was Gale Sayers. I didn't know that.
Wow. Interesting. Well, hopefully we see a good game tonight. Just a couple hours, we'll have coverage of that game starting at 7 o'clock. Browns at Broncos. Later tonight, right after Rebel Yell. Let's go ahead and get to our final break of the day. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Indulge yourself or your loved ones this season with a trip to Sissy's Log Cabin during Sales Tax Paid Weekend, November 29th through December 2nd. Shop in store to save on our expansive selection of designer brands, one-of-a-kind jewelry, and spectacular statement pieces, all while enjoying the Sissy's promise of unmatched quality, service, and brilliant natural diamonds. Stop by any location to find your trusted jeweler for holiday memories that will last a lifetime. Only at Sissy's Log Cabin.
With Progressive, you get more than savings. You get access to us through our mobile app, online chat, or by phone.
Oh, I see what you're doing here, Jamie. Giving me all these ways to stay in touch so I have no excuse not to. Well, you're in luck, because this guy's in the market for a new BFF.
Actually, all our customers can contact us this way.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just kidding.
But I am always up for
Taco Pizza! Oh, Pizza!
Progressive through the website, app, chat, or phone. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at TriumphAutoSales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so
spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye, Joe Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today, I know I've said it multiple times already today, but I don't care. I don't think you can overdo the excitement that should be around the city for the Tigers football and basketball program. The fact that
can't do it enough.
No, I mean the fact that they're one of 7 teams in the top 25 in both AP polls for football and basketball. They are the only non-Power 4 team that has that right now, and they've been playing really well. The football team to go out there last game of the season, I really, I know there's a lot of people that look at this season for Tiger football in different ways, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, when Tulane has all of this momentum, everything in front of them, you went out and you have college football analysts on ESPN saying you went out and you have a shot of being in the college football playoff. If you're Tulane, you're going into that game and you're going to want to win it. You're going to want to beat Memphis, and for Memphis to go down there and dominate the game the way they did, very, very impressive. And then for Tiger basketball, we've talked about so much, what they were able to do in Maui to knock off UConn, to knock off Michigan State. Ultimately, we ran into what I think is one of, if not the best teams in college basketball right now in Auburn. But to be able to look up Monday morning and see top 25 in both polls, it really shows where both these programs are at right now.
It was just an extraordinary week. We learned late Wednesday night, right after we got off the air on Wednesday, it would have been a long time since we've been on the air, of the passing of Coach Bill Battle, a friend, a good, decent man, head coach at Tennessee at 28, built a business empire, great AD at Alabama, wide receiver on Coach Bryant's first national championship team, teammates on that team with Richard Williamson, the former University of Memphis head coach, Joe Namath, Mal Moore, and Memphis and Mike Fracchia on that team. And Bill Battle in 1974, when he won the Liberty Bowl as head coach of Tennessee against Maryland, very minutes after the clock struck 0 and they were the winner that night 7-3, lost his dad that night and was very poignant moment, and lost his mom about 3 weeks before that, and he talked to us about it. Bill Battle, a really good person.
Yeah, no, definitely sad news to see that over the extended weekend. I think, what was that, Thursday, that news came out on Thanksgiving. So, yeah, very sad to see that. What I could have done without, I talked about it earlier in the show, and I'll say I am a guy that I like Dan Hurley. I like watching him coach. The fiery nature he coaches with doesn't really bother me that much, but the comments really over the last week, the antics in that game against Memphis bothered me, and then what he said
been a sore loser.
Today, yes, no, he definitely a sore loser, and then today, his first time talking to the media since returning to Maui and saying, I will never play in a 3-team, 3-game MTE tournament ever again. If I'm going to play, it's either going to be a home and home, or it's going to be a one-off big game in a big-time arena. That's okay if that's the way you think. I think this is all just sore loser, upset about how the week went. I don't think that UConn is going to stay out of these things because I think it is good exposure. It's good competition. I think every big team in the country are playing in these. I don't know why UConn wouldn't want to. But to say that right when you get back, that's something you wait. And if you're really serious about it, that's something you say in the offseason when you're meeting with the media. You don't say it first day back from Maui because, yes, it makes you look like a sore loser. It makes you look like you can't handle losses. It makes you look like you're losing your mind. And that's everything that I thought when I saw that. And again, I'm a guy that likes Dan Hurley. I'm not, a critic of Dan Hurley, but it was a really, really bad look for him.
Bryant really could have done without all the fighting and the mouthing around all these rivalry games. But amazingly, the Egg Bowl was on its best behavior. And, Bryant, let's reverse everything. And let's say at the Egg Bowl, somebody got maced, whether it was state players or Ole Miss players. Can you imagine the outcry?
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine it? Big Ten says, everything's settled, move along, nothing to see here.
I couldn't believe it. When I saw the cops start pulling out the pepper spray.
That pepper spray got you, dude.
Yeah. It was disgracefully bad look.
It was not a good look in the slightest to see both teams kind of sprinting in opposite directions with their eyes covered.
Coaches too, right? Got coaches as well.
Coaches
right?
and
got media.
members. Yeah, media members in there trying to record.
Pat Forty got a glancing blow.
Crazy.
Too bad it wasn't a direct shot.
Play nice, Brett.
Come by and say hi anytime.
Right, yes, Pat Forty. Come by and say hi. Oh, where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me to Denver for the Bo Nix show. Best thing that ever happened to Bo Nix was escaping the mediocrity of Gus Malzahn. A phony's phony, and now he'll be hurting Mike Norvell. Everyone, please get over Gus Malzahn, please.
Oh man, yeah.
And get over the high school coach rising to the top.
Yeah, no, the Gus bus is making its way down to Florida State. Good Lord. Beam me later tonight. Lakers and Timberwolves should be a good NBA game. The Lakers 12-8 to start the season, but they've struggled on the road. They're playing 500 ball on the road. On the other side, Timberwolves 9-10, looking to get back to 500. That game 7 o'clock on NBA TV.
Lakers back to where they got their nickname, back in the land of 10,000 lakes.
Yes, so that would be fun. But it's a lot of good stuff to watch. You got the NBA, you've got Monday Night Football. Not a ton of college basketball tonight, but it should be fun watching the NFL and the NBA. Well, that's all the time we have. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.
Since 1948, in the alley, the rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the rendezvous? Brett, after